Hey guys, I just wanted to put a little intro into this episode to say a few things. One, it's a little scraggly of an episode as per usual. It's kind of the signature of this podcast at this point, but I gotta say it happens sometimes. But we are always trying our best to improve, and we really appreciate anyone who's always listening, especially at this point when we're at our 20th episode. We do not emphasize this enough in this episode because we probably kept forgetting, but I cannot fucking believe this. We're almost at a year doing this podcast. We're like a month and a half away, and we're at 20 episodes, which just means so much. And just thank you so much to everyone who's been listening. And I really hope you enjoy this episode because we're talking about some of my favorite movies of all time. And the entire episode, I'm just gushing about how much I love them. And it was just such a great little gift for me today. So I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, what's up? How's it going, guys? I am your host, Jacob Nestor. I came out to the world, but I'm back in the closet to discuss some fucking movies. As always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, Nick Sailing. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Tired as fuck, congested. I
Just
spent
waking up.
all day long watching. Yeah, I woke up after 6 hours. I literally right before I went to bed, I watched Moonrise Kingdom. I spent all day yesterday watching basically Wes Anderson's discography.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
And
but I'm ready
time well
for this
spent.
fucking pod.
Time well spent. Hopefully, you felt that way. I love Wes Anderson, and I'm so excited to talk about him today on this birthday special. Recording this on the morning of my birthday.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it is your
is
birthday today.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Jacob.
Thank you. Probably gonna have this episode come out. I won't have it out tonight. I'll probably have it out tomorrow on the 13th. But yeah. Obviously, we're gonna be talking about a lot of Wes Anderson shit later on. But we're gonna start the show as we always do, when we're just gonna talk about some of the movies and TV shows that we've been watching recently. So, Nick, you wanna kick us off? Let me know what you've been
Um,
watching.
TV show. I've been watching a lot,
Oh, we have
obviously.
some big TV shows to talk about. Actually, I know we do.
Uh, I only watched two TV shows. I finished Succession.
Yep, exactly. That's one.
Um, incredible
And
show.
then
And,
Invincible, right?
and then I watched Invincible.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about those because those are two
All the
really
way through.
big releases.
Have you finished Invincible? You said you finished that, right?
Yeah, yeah, loved it so much. I thought
What
it was just
you liked that a lot?
incredible. I love the comic. I never got that far into it, but I started it and I really liked it. So I thought it was just really cool to see that they randomly chose to adapt this one. And just been doing a great job on basically all fronts. I just think it's so fucking well done, and especially just huge props to the voice acting, specifically from Stephen Yeun. I think is just amazing, and then just a whole heap of other like crazy good actors filling out all the rest of the cast. It's such a cool show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. I don't really have any issues with it, honestly. It's
Same.
just like fun. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have some praises for it. You could probably compare this show a little bit to The Boys.
Absolutely, I think you can.
Something this show does rather than The Boys is it takes its violence, but it uses it in a way where it's not as edgy, not as exploitative. But even though there's quite a bit of like gore and violence in this,
Hmm.
it makes sense. Like if it makes sense, like this shit would happen
Hmm.
if fucking superheroes were around.
Yeah, it's so
And
strange.
it made
I agree with that. Because I
yeah,
think The Boys is so good. I know you agree. We're both big fans of that
I liked it
show.
a lot. Yeah,
Um, but there's something about Invincible that just feels so much more refined. Tackling the specific ideas that it's trying to in this show, alongside that The Boys is also trying to tackle as well, and just generally
well
how it's crafted. I
these two
think.
shows are tackling different issues.
Oh,
See,
absolutely. They're
the
definitely
boys
widely
are
different, but
definitely tackling like
they do touch on a lot of the same
postmodern,
things, I think.
like political, very modern shit. While Invincible tackles
Hmm.
family dynamics,
Hmm.
relationships, tackles teens.
I think that's why it
It's
makes it feel so much more grounded
very
in all
broad.
aspects. and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
makes it
and
a lot more accessible.
the relationships in this are like incredibly engaging for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Some animated show, they didn't even need to go that ham with
Yeah,
like
for real.
uh, some of these like character development. But they did, and I really appreciate it. And they fit a lot into one season, so I'm
Hmm.
excited to see what they do next season with the show. I haven't seen the original graphic novel or whatever, so
Hmm.
because I just I was recommended last week by you and Cooper,
Yeah.
and I'm there going blind like I did because I really enjoyed it,
Hmm.
not knowing anything about it or seeing any trailers.
Yeah.
So hard
I
recommend for Invincible.
absolutely hard recommend for Invincible. And it got confirmed for season 2 and 3, thank God. So
Oh hell
whenever those
yeah,
come out, that'll be super exciting. Because there's just so much shit in the world that they built up that is just
yeah,
untapped, and that's not
yeah.
um, a slight to it, saying that it's untapped. It's just you can only fit so much into episodes, but everything still felt like necessary, and there wasn't like filler. I guess it's a very tight show.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was any filler, but even the filler
Exactly. It,
episodes
it
had
ends up like coming
development.
back around in a interesting way. Or
Yeah,
like it
it,
leaves something else more to come with it. And that's what
yeah,
is so cool.
exactly. And they do that with like the characters in the episode I'm talking about, and they do that consistently through the
Hmm.
show, which is really cool. They bring back characters that
Yeah.
are interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
that's Invincible.
I love
Do you have anything
last
else
thing
you
I
want
want
to
to say
say?
on Invincible is just the title cards and the credits, the way that they roll those is super cool and creative. Um uh like
Honestly, my least favorite part of the show is every time they do the title card. But
really, I love it. I'm a big
it's
fan.
cute. It's
Big
cute.
fan.
It's
Especially the
cute,
way
is
that
what
it
it
gets
is.
bloodier and bloodier as it goes on. Like I think it's awesome.
I
I
did
loved
like
it.
that, but like I don't know. Like I don't know. It was kind of corny. I'm not gonna
There were a
lie,
few
but it
like
was.
times when
I get
there
it.
were a few instances of it being a little corny, but I didn't mind at all just because I thought it was
I
overall just
mean,
really funny and like just well used.
sure.
And like
There's definitely
the
moments where it
credits,
was
the way that they
used in
do
a
like
pretty
an
funny way.
end credit scene basically every single time, but like and they'd show like a
Yeah,
few
they
credits. It
this
was
show
interesting.
fills up its like 40, 47 time slot pretty easily.
Yeah,
Like I would say the credits take like 0.5% of the show.
yeah.
You
They
get
they they,
they
they do
fit a
the
lot in
credits in an
there.
interesting way.
Yeah, and when I first watched it, I was like, oh, fucking like 50-minute episodes for an animated TV show? Are you kidding me? But it's definitely they definitely used their time accordingly.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
No, I think that's a check Invincible out on
Okay.
Amazon Prime and let us know what you guys think of
Yeah,
it. But moving on
we'll
to
definitely talk about
Succession.
that when it comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Succession.
Succession.
Finished that.
So
So funny.
yeah, what'd you
I
think?
got you. Well, here's the story
Okay,
about
okay.
Succession. I got you on Succession like
Mm-hmm.
months ago, and then
Yep.
I stopped watching it. And I got back into it recently because you finished it. I was like, oh fuck, I'll finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And season two is incredible. I basically restarted the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just rewatched a couple episodes and finished the season. And I gotta say, man, fuck, what's this writer
Oh
Jesse
shit.
something? Anyway, the writer of
I
this
got it.
show is incredible. Succession season two is some of the best TV I've ever seen. I gotta be honest.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. Jesse
It
Armstrong
it's
is.
Jesse Armstrong,
Oh, excuse me.
who's the writer of the show,
Yeah.
and I think he produces the show as well. But Succession, some of the best TV on television right now.
Mm-hmm.
This season came out 2019, so
Yeah, it's been out for a
we're a little
while,
bit late to
but
the
like,
party.
yeah,
Yeah,
people are obviously finding new love for it, including us, and obviously the people I've seen online how they recommended it to me because they're finding their newfound love for it too recently. This show is just really incredible. Uh, God, I'm just obsessed with it, dude. I cannot wait for more. or it's like it's just such an intoxicating show on all fronts. I think it's so creative and so interesting in the way it just uses everything, like the score and direction and editing is just so strange, but it works so well. It blows my mind, honestly.
Yeah, it feels like the show is centered around like a Murdoch type family or a Roger Ailes or a Trump type family, if you
Hmm.
will. But it's feels like an epic, and
Yeah,
it does feel like a long drawn out movie that you know fucking Adam McKay would come out
yeah,
uh, with complex characters, de- debauched reactions, sidelining. I don't know. All these people are terrible, horrible people,
yeah.
but it's so entertaining to watch.
It really is.
Um, I was thinking to myself, there are definitely people that look up to these guys
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
watch this show.
There's people who watch this show and are like, man, these guys are
Unironically
my idols. Yeah.
love these people. Yeah, and I was like, oh,
I
I hope
want
that's not a
Roman to
majority of
succeed
the
so
audience.
bad.
You are, yeah, exactly. Um, but I do want to ask you, what do you think of uh, Jeremy Strong during this season? Because he had, I'm not going to
Dude.
do any
We can do
spoilers,
we
but
can
he
do
had an
spoilers.
incident.
We
You
should.
sure?
I mean, yeah. We
I don't
um
think.
I mean,
I feel
just
like
skip
people
forward.
haven't seen the show.
Yeah, you just skip past this if you
Okay, skip past this after like how long would you say? From here
it's like 2
to
minutes
like a
probably.
minute?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Say your
Um
piece.
no, yeah, well, what were you going to ask me? Are you going to what were you going to say about the incident
Well,
with the
I was
car?
just gonna ask,
That whole thing?
so yeah, what do you think about his little character arc with uh potentially manslaughtering a child and basically being Logan's uh butt buddy throughout the
It's
show?
so fucking heartbreaking to watch, which is feels so weird. Like Kendall is not a good person, like objectively. He's not.
Oh,
But
he
like,
wasn't a good person before, yeah,
oh my god,
either.
I can't help you can't help but just feel fucking horrible for him. And like and it's all in Jeremy Strong's incredible performance. His eyes, it just watch his eyes whenever Logan asks him to do something. And you just can tell he just with every fiber in his body does not want to do it. But he has to. Is
Yeah,
just
there's no way
so
he
hard to
can't do it.
watch. Like
Yeah,
it's so difficult. Fucking one of my favorite just like shots of the whole season is when I can't remember what episode it is in, but he's standing on the edge of the rooftop and then he comes back later and
yeah,
the plexiglass is all up. Oh my
yeah.
god. That
He
shit
has
was
he has
just
like his foot on like top of the
yeah.
railing. Yeah, that's a pretty like I don't know that moment was like it was filled with like a
Mhm.
score or whatever during like some I think it was close to the ending of that episode. But I was like, that's a very impactful little scene there. And I legitimately thought that the ending to the season two was going to have him kill himself.
Dude,
Um,
I had no idea what was gonna happen. And there are so
yeah,
many points throughout season two where I was literally like screaming, like jaw dropped, like what the fuck is happening? Like what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, this show takes season two takes a lot of twists and turns. Likes to fuck with your head a little bit. I
Hmm.
do gotta say, I predicted the big like I guess reveal at the end, which didn't feel that big at all. Was like who was going to be the next CEO taking over the company.
Hmm.
I kind of guessed who it was going to be, even though they were introducing Shiv as the next person.
Yeah.
I
I
was
mean, I knew
like,
it wasn't gonna be Kendall, but
knew it wasn't going to be Kendall,
yeah.
but I for sure thought it was going to be Shiv. But they did this thing
Yeah.
where they put Roman through like this manager training program.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, This is the start of where Roman becomes like a big player, and he does. He starts to prove himself. Like in the beginning of the season, he starts having his shortcomings with like the rocket failure,
Yeah.
uh, and following through with the
That one like terrorist attack that he's like a part of.
oh, well, that was close to the ending. I feel like there that deal was when when he came back after that deal, talking to Logan, telling him it's not good. That was like a turning point. Logan was like, "Yeah, I trust you. I believe you. You know what the fuck you're doing,
Yeah.
and I want you to become the head of the company." And I really like the way they developed that because I was like, "Yeah, it makes sense for him to be CEO,
Yeah.
even though he's a slimeball, fucking creepy piece of shit."
Yeah.
And I
The
love
shit
him.
with him and
So
Jerry is like so disgusting and like
I, it's
I
so
I love it. I
fucking
love it. I love it so
It's
much.
so good.
It's so
Every
fucking
scene with
bizarre.
them is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Um,
there's so many just like great duos in this show. Him and Jerry, Tom and Greg is
I was gonna
the
say Tom and
best.
Greg's classic.
Tom and
Yeah.
Greg is just so fucking good. I love
I
it.
love that callback to the email of you can't got to break a few Gregs to make a Tomlet.
Yeah, yeah, gotta break a few
I
Gregs to make a
love that.
Tomlet.
I love that callback. That's so good. Oh my god.
Greg is just such a good character.
Yeah, I thought he was definitely gonna be fucked towards the end of this season, but so far it seems like he's meandering his way through.
Yeah, somehow.
He's blackmailing people now. He's
Yeah, yeah,
become a little bit more
he's
of a
really
ruthless
succumbed to the slime
businessman.
ball lifestyle, which is
Yeah,
sad but
he
also great
even
to see
he
in a
turned
way.
down like $2 million just so he could continue working with Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg's a Greg's a fan favorite for sure. And you know what? I recognize this actor. I had to go do some research, but this kid was the glowing kid, the kid that had the glowing powers in
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah, you're right. You're
Sky
right. In Sky
High.
High. Yeah.
In Sky High, I was like, where do they know this
So
kid?
funny.
That's where I've seen him from. He's
Mm.
also been in a few things, but I never knew his name.
Yeah,
But his
I
name is like
recognized his
Nicholas
face, but I
Braun.
also Nicholas Braun. I'm
Yeah,
in the same boat as you where I recognized him but wasn't sure and then looked him up. I was
I
like,
didn't know where he was
"Oh
from.
shit, I see. I see." Yeah.
Yep, yep.
But
Definitely a fan
he's great.
favorite. Um, One thing I want to mention, I think one of the reasons why I love this show so much, this is all British writing, like
Mhm.
clearly British writing. It's interesting. I really dig it. It's
Yeah.
like Americanized for us, and like they even like some of the insults are like that's a foreign insult for sure. No one
Yeah.
else says that. But regardless, makes these characters even more uh otherworldly to us, and
Mhm.
I really dig the show. I really do.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
it's just it really is one of my favorite shows I've ever seen and it's just so good.
it's good TV, man. Good
Yeah.
TV.
If you're for some reason at this part right now and you haven't seen it, please go watch Succession. It's so amazing.
I definitely do. All right, let's move on to some
All right.
movies I've seen this week. I'm going to
Fuck
do
yeah.
really quickly here.
You do you.
I've seen quite a few, but I'm just going to mention a couple that I really enjoyed. So, as usual, I'm going to go through some horror. I watched a Turkish horror movie called Basket over the week.
Okay.
This is I've never heard of this director before, but their name is Can Everdell. I want to see another movie they did called Housewife. It's got some praise in the horror community.
Okay.
But this is the first movie I watched for them called Basket. It was a feature-length film from a short film called Basket as well. And it's a Turkish horror movie that takes place centering like small town in Turkey. That's basically like a Louisiana swamp town is like the best way I can describe like this like place in Turkey. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
It follows a group of I want to say like 5 officers, including like a rookie, a chief, and it's basically like a whole department of these 5 officers, and we're following uh, what happens after they get a mysterious call from the town over. So they hop in their van and they start singing, having a good time, and then all of a sudden their driver hits somebody. They fall into the lake, the whole car, everybody in the lake. Um, Luckily, though, they were rescued by some locals. But these motherfuckers are kind of weird, and they look strange, and maybe they're homeless. Uh, but they're in the right town where they got the call from. So they head to where the distress call was made, and it's in an apartment building. And some very interesting stuff happens because they seemingly just entered hell. Um, this is a movie that basically came out a few years ago because shit was going down in Turkey with government relations. I don't know the whole story, but this movie kind of describes what was going down in there in a very interesting way,
Hmm.
and the director conveyed it through a horror movie. This is not cop propaganda. Don't worry about that. Trust me, it isn't. Uh, I highly recommend this movie. One of the most beautiful movies, one of the most horrifying movies I've seen in the decade. Um, I, I'm ashamed of myself for not seeing it before because it's incredible, and it's one of my favorite movies that I've seen uh, horror wise in a while.
Nice.
Hard recommend for Baskin.
Okay.
You sometimes I see this movie on Netflix, but I did have to buy it because I just wanted to see it. I've been
Hmm.
needing to see it, and I had to watch it.
For sure.
I bought it, but this movie does pop up here and there on Netflix.
Okay.
Another one I want to mention, another horror, Taking Up Deborah Logan.
Oh, yep.
This is a
Okay, I've heard about this a
2014
lot.
movie that's also like you see on Netflix a lot.
Hmm.
But this is super underrated. This is another found footage. For some reason, I've been finding myself watching unexpectedly a lot of found footage recently.
Interesting.
Um, it's not. I'm not even trying to, but like in the last exorcism, I was like, oh, it's found footage. Like immediately, I was like, what the fuck? And then
Hmm.
this one, I had the same thing, except I kind of knew it was a documentary crew going in. I didn't know it was going to be found footage though. I thought it was going to be like mockumentary setup. But this is basically following a student crew uh, that from a college that are doing a like thesis on dementia and the effects of dementia, and they're following this older woman named Deborah Logan, who her mother or her daughter approved of this documentary taking place because they kind of need somebody. But it's following this sweet old woman, Deborah Logan, who's clearly has like some kind of Alzheimer's or dementia because she has some incidents where she either like lashes out or is very forgetful. But she seems like a sweet old woman for the most part. Eventually, some weird stuff starts happening where they find her eating dirt, or maybe she's uh, uh, what should we call it? Maybe she's digging into to the ground for whatever reason with her bare hands, or maybe she's in the attic naked for whatever reason. All these like wild incidents start happening uh, to the point where they start investigating on their own what might actually be happening, and
Hmm.
what they find is some pretty horrifying shit. And there is some really, I'm not going to go any further than that, but I hard recommend this because uh, this is definitely like underrated, I would say, in terms of found footage, because there's a lot of great effects in this. There's a lot of creepy ass, scary ass imagery in this movie. Um, I don't know. I dig it a lot. Hard recommend. This movie didn't get released to theaters at all. Like not even international, not even like the US. It was just released on VOD. So not many people have seen it, but it does have a little bit of a cult following. And if it ever comes on streaming for you, I highly recommend it. In fact, it is on Amazon Prime right now, and that
Fuck
is
yeah.
where I watched it.
Okay.
So that is
Yeah.
The Taking of Deborah Logan.
I'm super interested.
Let's go quickly through these. I mentioned this to you, Jacob, but a movie called Synchronic just released onto
That's
Netflix.
right.
This came out 2019, and I haven't seen it. But this is Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who have done Spring, they've done Resolution, they've done Endless, all of which I've praised on this podcast before. But I haven't seen their new movie, and that was Synchronic. It had Anthony Mackie in it and Jamie Dornan from best known for 50 Shades, probably. Um, this follows basically two paramedics in New Orleans. This movie can get a lot of. This came before Project Power, but there's a lot of like similarities between Project Power and this movie. But the fact is, the big thing is that it surrounds this drug that is killing young people. And they reveal. I'll go ahead and say what the drug is because they revealed it in the very beginning. The drug is a psychoactive that's very intense for adults, but for certain young people that have some pure neural derangement in their brain, some dumb shit. They can like time travel with this drug.
Fuck yeah.
And whether that's good or bad, but they try and travel to a random spot wherever they are. And sometimes they come back with ancient swords in their back, or sometimes they come back covered in tiger claws because they were in the deep jungle or whatever. So it's killing these kids. Some come back, some don't. And Anthony Mackie starts getting curious. So he investigates on his own. And soon after, Jamie Dornan's own daughter disappears, seemingly from this drug. That's when shit starts to amp up a little bit. And it becomes a pretty fun little, I mean, not fun, it's a doomer movie for sure. This is definitely like a black pilled movie, but it's got some really fun like visuals to it, but for the most part you're going to be sad through this, I'll be honest with you. But I highly recommend it because this is the first feature film where they kind of got a little bit of a budget, so they went a little bit, maybe they might have overbit more than they could chew, but I like seeing these guys with a little bit bigger budget. I'm excited what they do next. I mentioned this before, but they are working on the Moon Knight series for Disney.
Yes.
So
with
that
Oscar
should
Isaac.
be interesting. Oscar Isaac's in that. Please more Mexican representation.
More
in
Oscar
movies.
Isaac.
I want to go through these really quickly.
Okay.
New Mutants came out 2020. I actually like the movie, but there's a lot of issues with it.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy is great, but she's like low-key racist.
Whoa.
I rewatched The Bad Times at El Royale. I just want to shout that movie out. It's amazing. And From Dusk Till Dawn is incredible. It's the first time I like watched the whole thing through and through, and I fucking love it. It's got some really incredible like practical effects and gore that honestly kind of stand on its own for today, because like it's all practical effects that were done in like the late 90s. And like that was like rare for big budget movies like this, so it was very cool to see. Because around that time, after Jurassic Park is when physical effects started dying down a little bit. So it was really cool seeing like a late '90s movie. Some fucking vampire fucking band player playing a bloody corpse as a
Mm-hmm.
guitar is amazing. I love this movie.
That sounds fucking awesome.
That's about it, man. That's about it. I Other than that, I watched almost entirely all of Wes Anderson's movies. So
Almost all
yeah,
of them. You
yeah. I
bastard.
just I
You
literally there's literally
bastard.
one Wes Anderson movie I haven't seen. So suck my fucking cock.
Uh,
I did this for you.
Embarrassing, but whatever. I'll let it slide. But anyway, of course,
What
as
have you
always,
seen,
though,
brother?
check out all those movies that Nick saw, form your own opinions, and let us
Please
know what you
do.
think
There's
about
some
them.
bangers in there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's some bangers.
I myself saw quite a few bangers this past week, I must say. I started it off with
Speak
Mortal
on it.
Kombat, which was not a banger at all.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
The new Mortal Kombat movie. It's fun, you know. There were some really cool action scenes, and I definitely had a really good time watching it with all my roommates. But the disappointing part is it's not as good as the '90s version, and so that's just kind of a big letdown, honestly. The main character really is just not interesting at all, and it's just I wasn't expecting great writing. Obviously, it's not like the '90s version is technically well written, but it's just like so fun and so like cool in so many ways. Even though it like feels dumb, it just feels really cool. And that's kind of where this movie loses itself. It's not as cool, which is a little bit disappointing. But it is a funnest movie, and it's on HBO Max if you have the time to catch it. I think it's still on there. Um,
Yeah. Honestly, watch this movie for Kano.
oh, absolutely. Kano is
He's probably the
so
best
good.
character.
He's easily the best part of the movie. He's just so fucking funny. Um, and like I said, some of those fight scenes are crazy, especially the final fight scene. Is really like the coolest one, which it always feels good when the final fight is the best one. So
Which one was that? I'm sorry.
just the
Oh yeah,
Scorpion
yeah. That
Sub-Zero
one.
one.
Man, that one is cool. There's one thing I didn't like about it, but it's nitpicky. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever though. Still just like I said, just a fun movie. Definitely worth watching if you're a fan
Yeah,
of fighting
it's
movies.
not
You
good.
know,
It's super corny. It's like bad writing, but it's honestly enjoyable. It's
yeah,
fun.
super enjoyable, super enjoyable. It definitely wasn't as worse as it could have been. So that's a big
Yeah.
plus. That's a big plus for a movie
I
like
feel
this.
sorry for the people that came out of it saying like they hated it because I definitely was like laughing at some of these
Oh
corny
yeah,
ass lines and shit. I was like
I
goofy
really laughed.
goofy kills, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm having a good time right
There
now.
is this one line with Kano that's like one of my favorite line readings that I just thought was so funny. It's when Liu Kang is like giving one of his first monologues to them when he meets them.
Yeah.
And he goes up and he like puts his hand on Kano's shoulder and he just goes like the fuck. And I don't know, like the suddenness and like the way he says it is so fucking funny. I just could not stop thinking about it. Um, so huge shout outs out
Probably
Kano for low key carrying the movie for a lot of it. And they did Reptile super dirty. They always do.
They did Reptile the dirtiest.
They did
bro.
Reptile super dirty in the '90s version, and they did him even dirtier here, which is just
I
fucked
don't even
up.
remember him in the '90s version. I'll be honest.
He's like a
I
bunch
don't
of
even-
bugs. Like it's like a
What?
curse on like this like mummy thing, and you watch it turn into Reptile, and it's just like a dude in the ninja suit, which is what's supposed to be like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, you know. And then like when he dies, he turns into like a bunch of bugs. It's kind of gross, but it's like kind of cool. It's better than whatever the fuck happened in this movie.
One of the games they gave Reptile. Oh wait, no, it's always been like this. Reptile was like kind of like a Sub-Zero,
Yeah.
Scorpion type. Oh shit, my fucking mic. But yeah, I didn't like the way they did him dirty in this one at all.
I'll cut this out. Is there something with your mic? I'm gonna just fix it. Yeah. It definitely got weird for a few seconds, but it wasn't bad enough.
Keep going. I'll fix.
Okay. Anyway, moving on to the next movie I saw. This was a rewatch, so I'm going to keep it slim right here. But this is Greener Grass. This is on Hulu. I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. I saw it for the first time, like beginning of 2020. I think I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times since then. This movie is just so fucking incredible. I think it's directed, written, and starring the two women who are in it who I can't fucking remember their names, so I'm gonna look it up real quick. But it is Jocelyn DeBoer and Don Lube. I'm horribly butchering that, but that's okay. But they're both just incredible in this movie, and it's basically there's no aliens in the movie, but it's basically if aliens observed like white suburbia and tried to make a movie like based on it. That's kind of like how the movie plays out, and it's just so fucking absurd, you know. It's like very very cringe humor, you know, very, you know, it does not explain anything. Shit just kind of like happens, and it's so just strange and unnerving, and so it's straight up a horror movie at times. It's fucking scary. But it's like also really emotionally impactful. Like the more I watch it and like the more I'm like getting a firmer grasp on not only like the story that's being told, but just more in depth into the main character and her performance and her past, is really interesting. And it's just such like a textured movie that is endlessly rewatchable and just like I said, so fun and just a great, just like stoner, crazy, fucking hilarious movie. But it also just has a lot to unpack, I think. And it's such an impressive movie. Highly recommend Greener Grass. It's on Hulu. Probably gonna
Like an
rewatch it
episode of
again in a few
Twilight.
months. Yeah. It basically is like an episode of the Twilight Zone in a way.
I liked it.
It's so strange, but I think you would love it, Nick. It's really perfect.
Who?
Yeah,
Say-
that's that. And then after that, I caught Ladybird, another rewatch. I'll admit, I was kind of nervous to rewatch Ladybird, just because I've only seen it once. I saw it when in theaters when it came out, and I loved it. Just absolutely adored it. It's one of my favorites of the year. Just thought it was just perfect and amazing. I watched it with my dad. We both cried. He loved it too. Like just a great experience overall. Um, and so I was scared rewatching it, as is with most rewatches that I love, that I won't love it as much. But no, this movie is perfect. It's amazing. Lady Bird is so incredible. There's just an aura to the movie that's so infectious, I think, that is just feels so lovely and engaging. And like Greener Grass is a really like fun movie at times where you can just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy it. But there's just so much subtext to every single character beat and little facial expression and just random dialogue beats that happen that just hold so much weight. um it was honestly a hard watch. This movie is like way even more depressing than I remembered it being. Like it is a hard movie. There is some really just hard to watch scenes, honestly. Um,
Hmm.
but it's just so like beautiful and just so good. Have you seen Lady Bird?
Yeah, I love Lady Bird.
Good.
I'm in the same boat though. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But I specifically, honestly, I still remember my experience at the theater. I saw it by myself. And there was nobody else in the theater, and I had like time to myself to like
Fuck
reconcile
yeah.
like some fallings I've had,
Uh-huh.
with specifically my dad. And I related a lot to the main character in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I really dug Lady Bird. I still do. I should watch that again.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the rewatch, and it's such a tight movie
I,
too. It's like it's at a nice like 92 minutes or something like that, 95 minutes.
Mm,
It's just
yeah, I like that.
so good, dude, and it's all just like the directing is beautiful, and like I said, I do think it's like I do think it's a perfect movie. It's just so amazing on so many different levels. The things that are just such big standouts are the writing and the performance, specifically from Saoirse Ronan and Laurie
Mhm.
Metcalf. are both
And
just
this,
so just fucking powerhouse performances.
yeah. What did Gerwig win anything for this? Seeing
Um,
it,
I
don't think it
think
won screenplay.
I don't think it won screenplay either, so I don't think it actually won anything,
I don't think it won anything
which
either.
is
Now that I'm thinking about
just
it,
crazy tragic. Laurie Metcalf should have 100% won instead of
wasn't it?
it was the I Tonya
No,
lady, Allison
it's
Janney.
Lord. Yeah, no,
Allison
Allison Janney
Janney.
would 100% deserved that over her. I'm
Over
sorry.
Laurie Metcalf? No.
Yeah, I remember that year too. I watched everything that year. I specifically remember wanting Allison Janney to win that
I
one,
wanted
and she
Laurie
did,
Metcalf
and I
to
was
win,
happy.
and I still do.
Fucking love I
Especially
Tonya.
like on this rewatch, like just she really is like the heart to the movie, I think. Because one thing I didn't fully grasp the first time I watched this movie is like Lady Bird is like definitely a shitty person and like does and says like a lot of shitty things. And like it's really hard to root for her. I have a lot of points in the movie.
Like, wait, but like what again? I gotta refresh it. What did she do?
Like the way that she talks about people and like certain actions that she does are like very fitting and like completely understandable. And so that's why I think that's what makes her just like a really well written and good
You also
character.
gotta
But I
remember
think
she's
she's
like
hard to root for at times for sure.
18,
I know,
right?
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what makes it so
Okay.
realistic and like good, well
Yeah,
written, you know.
makes sense.
But
Yeah.
I don't think it's a slight to the writing at all to say that she's a really unlikable character because I honestly felt like she was kind of made to be really unlikable, but
There's
also
definitely
extremely
aspects of
understandable.
her. There's definitely like aspects of her where you're like,
Exactly.
bitch,
It's like,
why are you doing
why are
this?
you
Why are
fucking
you doing
saying this?
this?
Why are you doing this? But
Yeah,
then she like
yeah.
pulls you in with the extreme relatability and heart
Oh
in
yeah.
so many other scenes. And so that balance is just so important. And I
It's really
remember
good
being
coming
so
of age.
upset with so many of the things that Laurie Metcalf, the mom, did when I first watched this movie when I was 17. And then rewatching it now, I'm just like finding myself siding with her on so many like things that she said. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. And it's just a weird dynamic. Kind of fully realizing all the characters in it because even when I first saw it, I did have some sort of feeling like I love this, but I'm missing something here with the parents, you know. And it was really because I was just like Lady Bird, you know, and I just couldn't see like some of the like true deep rooted love in so many of the small things, you know.
Yes,
And I think that's just so impressive.
for
It is so
sure.
good. I love Lady Bird. Check
Really
that
good
out.
coming of
So,
age.
yep. Um, definitely in contention for one of the best coming of age movies of all time. It's amazing. Check that shit out on Netflix if you haven't. Lady Bird is amazing.
Oh, it's on Netflix?
Yep.
Nice.
Shout out.
Actually, I own that movie. I don't have to go to Netflix, never mind.
I'd love to own Lady Bird. But moving on to the next movie that's also a Netflix movie that I saw. This is the new The Mitchells versus the Machines. This is the new Sony animated pictures. You know, the
So they
guys
sold it to
behind
Netflix.
Spider-Verse. Lord and Miller Project were behind this as well.
Who directed this, though? Was this any big name?
Double check.
I've heard of the, you spoke to this to me before, but I heard about it before. This was supposed to be a theater
It's
release, I think.
Michael Rianda and Jeff Rowe, and they've both worked with each other on just small things like working on Gravity Falls and working a little bit on Disenchantment. Like this is their first like feature though.
I've heard of Gravity Falls before.
And
Okay,
they
interesting.
also were like the head writers. Oh, I actually didn't know this. Alex Hirsch was one of the lead story consultants on the movie.
Interesting.
Which obviously, if you're a fan of Gravity Falls, you know Alex Hirsch as the creator of Gravity Falls, which is just such an amazing show. And yeah, The Mitchells versus the Machines is fucking awesome. It's so quirky, so funny, such like personality and everything. The the main character, the daughter, she is a filmmaker, and a lot of the movie feels like it was made by her. And I think a lot of those little touches in it are so cute and never really distract from the movie, except for like maybe one time. But it's just like little flourishes that they add that are just really cute, I think, and really add. I don't know why. It just adds a different level of complexity to the family dynamics, which are just so strong, that really hold the movie down. These really complex, um, like I said, the family structure is so well fleshed out, and it makes all the emotional beats hit. Every single one hits just because the
Definitely do.
family is just so strong,
Yeah.
and everything else, just the direction and animation is so creative and beautiful. You can tell there's just so much love behind every single scene in this movie. I was just crying left and right. I couldn't control it. Even during the mom girl boss up moment scene, I fucking cried. It was just too good. It's too good. The Mitchells versus the Machines. Please check out this movie. It's so funny and just so cute.
I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
And it's an easy watch. It's like just under 2 hours, but it does not feel that way, honestly. And the story takes lots of interesting turns that I'm genuinely like, I wonder how they're gonna do this. I genuinely have no idea how they're gonna do this in a interesting way, and it always succeeds. And it really blew me away.
Nice.
I'm gonna love this one for years to come. And an early easy contender for best animated feature at next Oscars, because this is gonna be up there for sure.
Because it's gonna be one of the 4 movies that come out in the animation.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
only
exactly.
only Sony and Disney make animated movies.
And Illumination.
So that's Illumination.
Yeah.
So that's the only companies that are allowed to nominate, actually. So we don't allow foreign animated movies though.
Have they ever nominated like Studio Ghibli or anything?
They have, yeah. I'm pretty sure Spirited
Okay.
Away won, actually.
Okay.
I think that's the only one. But like, there's been like a few. The Wind Rises was nominated too back in like 2013, but it's very
No,
limited.
I know that.
And it's
They
like,
usually
if they do
usually
nominate
have, like,
anime,
some
it
art
is
house
only
company in there.
Studio Ghibli and like nothing else. They really.
yeah. Or
But
some like yeah.
that's the way she goes. That's the way she goes.
It is the way she goes.
I got 2 more movies I want to shout out real quick. I got
Do it.
Chungking Express. So this movie is it's not the directorial debut of Wong Kar-wai. I think it's his second movie though. Or it might be his first. I could be getting it.
I think
totally
it's
wrong.
his
But
first. Did he do
Chungking
something in the
Express
80s?
is so
Oh.
fucking good, dude. Oh my god. I do like Fallen Angels more. It's like a more subdued version of Fallen Angels. It's the same type of thing where it's like one half follows one lonely dude getting his heart broken, and the second half follows another lonely dude getting his heart broken, basically. And Fallen Angels is a lot more audacious with its editing and some of the weird shit that it does that I was notably a huge fan of when we talked about it a few episodes ago. And overall, like, I think the 2 main characters are just generally more interesting in Fallen Angels, but I don't want to knock on Chungking Express too much because it still fucking blew me away and was just so beautiful. It was in the same boat as Fallen Angels where I was vibing with it. I was liking it. I was kind of just absorbed into the world and just really just trying to live with these characters with the limited time I had with them. And then the ending would just blow me the fuck away. And that was absolutely the same case with Chungking Express. The ending is so beautiful and just so good. Faye Wong is just incredible, and she really is the heart of Chungking Express. I think she is just like I said, I'm at a loss for words. She really is just the best part of the movie. But the way that the 2 stories mirror itself is really interesting that I didn't fully grasp until the end. Because like I said, it really is a lot more of a hard cut than Fallen Angels, where it really is following this one guy. Boom, instant, you're following this other guy now. And that was interesting to say the least. But
Hmm.
it definitely made one story stand out more than the other. But the way that it was able to parallel the two stories through just like structural beats and character beats made the ending even more impactful. Um, so yeah, definitely check out Chungking Express if either you're a fan of Wong Kar-wai stuff, or maybe if you haven't been as big of a fan of his stuff, because I do think it's a lot more subdued in its style and it's a lot more accessible than In the Mood for Love and Fallen Angels, especially. So definitely check out Chungking Express. Caught that on the Criterion channel. And then last thing I wanted to shout out, this was or did you have anything you wanted to say about Chungking Express? You haven't seen it, I guess.
I was just like, check it on the Criterion channel that everybody has.
Dude, just fucking subscribe to the Criterion channel. It's literally my most used streaming service.
Just like spend $15 a month on the Criterion channel, guys.
Dude, how much is it? I bought it in a just like the 1 year bundle, both years now. It was like $100. It was $100 for a year.
Oh, okay. So it was like $2 cheaper than you.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's probably on HBO Max realistically, so just get HBO Max.
Chungking Express is not on HBO Max.
Oh.
Trust me, I've been checking. So
fucked up, dude. I want to get the box. I want to get the box set of Wong Kar-wai.
The box set just recently came out from Criterion. Yeah, looks really nice.
So hype.
It's like $150 though.
Oh, the box sets are so expensive. Only reason I have the Ingmar Bergman box set, and that's because I got it, one, for Christmas for my parents, and two, I made sure to tell them buy it during the discount season, so it was half priced, which is nice.
Gotcha. Smart.
But yeah, Chungking Express is awesome.
Sick.
Banger soundtrack. Last thing on that, banger soundtrack. Just like
Same
Fallen Angels, just an absolute
banger.
banger. It's basically all I've been listening to, and.
After watching Fallen Angels, I was just listening to the music in that for like weeks on end. Yeah,
I've just been listening to both of those soundtracks on repeat this past week.
Nice,
just because of that. And then the last movie, real quick. Nice. This was another rewatch. A lot of rewatches this past while. This is on Hulu, I believe it was Hulu or Amazon Prime. It's called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. It's a documentary on this man, Jiro. He's a sushi maker in Japan, and he's regarded as the best sushi maker of all time, basically. And he's a man who completely dedicated his life to his craft. And it's really beautiful to watch, but it's also really hard.
You said it's a documentary?
Documentary, yep.
Okay.
It's a tight hour and 20 minutes.
I've heard of this before because Documentary Now made a parody of it.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, it's a really famous documentary for sure.
Yeah.
And I really wish it was longer. Like I said, it's a tight 120 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes. So 80 minutes. But but I really do wish it was longer, and it could have explored his sons a little bit more in depth and their relationships maybe. But at the same time, the movie does a really good job at examining Jiro and his life and why he is the man he is. And there's something really cool seeing someone who's so content with their life and does the exact same thing every single day to like a level of perfection and like creative drive that is just like unreal, like unlike anything I've ever seen. It's extremely unhealthy, and it definitely had major issues with his relationship with his kids, and they touch on that a little bit in the movie, but I wish they kind of touched on it more maybe. But at the same time,
is he dead? Is he dead?
I don't think so. He wasn't dead at the end of the documentary, so I haven't looked it up.
Sorry, I made it sound like he was dead for a second. I was like, oh shit.
No. I believe he's still kicking it. But just a really beautiful documentary in general. A lot of it is, if you're a fan of the sushi making scene in I Love Dogs, it's like that on crack. It's like 90% of the documentary is just like montages of him making sushi, and it's just like so fucking beautiful.
My least favorite part of that movie.
What?
I'm just kidding.
What?
Oh,
Shut
you're
the fuck
fucking-
up. What? Oh my god. You
No,
got
no,
me,
seriously.
you got me, you got me. You got me.
Nice.
Okay, you got the reaction. Are you happy?
Oh,
You got the reaction you wanted, okay? Fuck off.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, Geo Dreams of Sushi though, just a really beautiful documentary. That I highly recommend. It's just lovely to watch. Really short, easy watch.
Right on.
And it's very inspiring, very inspiring. But let's fucking move on. I want to talk about Wes Anderson, baby. We're here to talk about my favorite writer and director of all time, Wes Anderson. This man does not fucking miss. He don't miss. And we're going to be talking about all of his movies today. We're going to be ranking all of his movies. I think there's 9 of them, 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4,
9.
5, 6, 9. Fake fan. Yeah, there's 9 of them.
Not including the short films.
Obviously, yeah. So do you want to? We've done this in the past. Whenever we've ranked directors, you want to do it the same way? Okay. So for those who haven't listened to our past directors ranked episodes, we're just gonna start from the bottom and go back and forth, listing off each of our spots, and then once we name one that we've both listed, then we'll go into an aside and go spoiler in depth kind of on that movie, and so you'll be able to skip forward through each of the movies that you haven't seen, but still be able to see our lists and thoughts on each of them that you have seen and want to listen to us. So yeah, without further ado, let's kick this fucking thing off. What's your number 9 spot?
The movie I haven't seen. It's the only Wes Anderson movie I
that's
missed.
fair. Yeah, obviously
is gonna have to be Bottle Rocket. I'm still gonna watch this movie. I'm very interested in seeing young Luke and young Owen Wilson on screen.
I will talk about Bottle Rocket in a bit because it's higher up on my list.
All right, go for it.
I'll talk about why you should definitely try to watch it as soon as you can. But for me, my number 9 is Rushmore, his sophomore debut, with Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray. What about you? What's your number 8?
My number 8 is the Darjeeling Limited. Is that how you say that?
Darjeeling Limited, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Actually, I will say it right now. I love all these.
Yeah. So, I have Rushmore.
Even though that's my number 9, I found a lot to love.
And like I said,
it was my first time watching it too.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We obviously go into these more later, but yeah, I really meant it when I say he don't miss. This is like the one director besides maybe Bong Joon-ho where I basically love every single one of his movies. And the last place one for me, Rushmore, is still I would rate it. I rewatched it a few months ago, so I didn't rewatch it for the podcast. I watched it like a month or 2 ago, but I rated it a 3.5 stars. And that's obviously pretty fucking good. I do love all of these movies on this list. Even my number 8 as well, which is Royal Tenenbaums, his third feature, 2001. Anyway, moving on though, your number 7.
My number 7. Let's see. I'm gonna put The Life Aquatic. I'm by the way, I'm doing my list right now as I'm going along.
Bastard! Why did you not prepare before?
I'm a bastard. I watched all the movies. I watched 9 movies yesterday. Suck my dick.
You didn't watch 9 movies yesterday because you didn't watch Bottle Rocket, you motherfucker.
7.
Fuck you. Fuck you. This is a goddamn mess.
Tell me. I watched 7. I rewatched Wes Anderson movies just for you, and you're telling me I'm a bastard. I'm putting number 7 as Life Aquatic.
That's fucked up. Shout out my Life Aquatic shirt, by the way. Team Suzu intern. But...
Oh wow, I would love to be part of Team Zuzu. They seem like a very functional.
Yeah, I would love to be a Team Zuzu intern. Would be a good time. But that's insane. Holy shit, I can't believe I have Life Aquatic that low. But that's really fucked up. Okay. We finally
How's
have
that
one where we
fucked
can
up?
talk about now though.
I said I love that movie.
I know, I know, I
What?
know. I know you love all of them. It's
Oh,
still
oh,
fucked up.
oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I had to make my list in biases for Jacob Nestor.
Oh my god. You
Excuse
know that's not what I
me.
mean, you motherfucker. God
What's your
damn
number
it.
7?
My number 7 is Darjeeling Limited, so we finally got one to talk about.
There you go. You want to talk about it?
Of course. This is
This is
your
my first time watching this.
Yep, so this is technically your lowest placed ranking one just because
Yeah.
we're not counting Bottle Rocket. And yeah, I really liked this movie. Basically, every single one of these movies, I rewatched every single one of them. I loved them even more than the first time I watched them, besides Rushmore. Rushmore was the one that I didn't like more, that I actually liked less on the rewatch. And that was it. But Darjeeling is really fucking good, and I think is really kind of the underrated gem in Wes Anderson's filmography, because it's right after Life Aquatic, his first like quote unquote big budget movie at like $30 million, and it's right before Fantastic Mr. Fox, the really formative stop action movie that initiated a big shift in style in his career, I think. And then Darjeeling Limited is kind of just in the middle
I
there.
disagree with that. I think Life Aquatic started,
Um,
and that's why I think Darjeeling Limited is so underwhelming. Even though it's so good, but for him, it's got to be my least favorite because with Life Aquatic, he started doing directorial things that were becoming more unique to him, and he fully fleshed it out. I would say in the Grand Budapest, but you start seeing like those little, you're like, oh, that's a Wes Anderson thing. And on my rewatch, I definitely noticed it a lot in the Life Aquatic. And started to think about it, I feel like some of those things are what kind of turned people away from Wes Anderson, and now he's being
sure.
praised for it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I actually put the Darjeeling, sorry, I'm gonna fuck up that name, Darjeeling Limited as my least favorite, is because it's super one note. As much as I like these characters, the movie's very one note. Yeah, to the fact where like he has to like put these characters in a fucked up situation just for them to like even bond with each other, I guess, and have an experience. I don't know. There was a lot of things in this movie where I was like, I feel like you could have gone a little bit more Wes Anderson like, but this is his least like Wes Anderson film
Yeah,
movie.
I've seen criticism of this movie just being another like way too heavily stylized Wes Anderson movie, which I do not understand at all, because
What?
it is like definitely his least stylized movie in every aspect, basically.
Yes.
It is the least Wes Anderson movie. And
It really
another
is.
big factor of that I think is such a standout in a good way to this movie that I actually really loved a lot more on this rewatch is the intensity of this movie. This movie is not a good time overall. Like, it is like the
No.
characters are shitty and they're always doing like shitty things, and like it is so just tense. Basically, the entire movie kicks off with a great little car scene in the foot chase onto the train. It's just a brilliant way to start
I
the
love
pacing of
that.
this movie, and it just does not let up for the entire movie, I think. And
I actually love the way
Wes
they ended it
Anderson
with that too.
obviously has like he has lots of great intensity in so many of his other movies. All of his movies are very emotionally impactful in so many different ways, so they have some sort of intense emotions, but the intensity that they go for in Darjeeling Limited is something that he hasn't really tapped into before or since, I think. And that's something I'd really like to see him explore, just that real like kind of dirty manicness of it, like almost reminds me of like After Hours by Martin Scorsese in a way.
Interesting.
That just like super hecticness of it all, I think is great, and that's definitely like the standout thing for me in this movie. But
Yeah.
I will say I
I
was struggling. Like, this is on the level of Royal Tenenbaums, which is the spot right below it. And I was
Yeah.
not sure which one I wanted to put above it, but honestly, when it came down to it, I really honestly based it on, I had just like a stronger emotional connection this time watching Darjeeling, where I cried a little bit, and when I rewatched Royal Tenenbaums, I didn't at all. And so it was kind of just like, Darjeeling was just
Are you
kind of the
gonna?
more
Is
impactful
there
movie.
moments where you're gonna cry in Royal Tenenbaums? I don't mean.
Oh, suicide scene, yeah.
Oh, I actually did cry during
That's
that.
kind of a big scene. That's like it's like a really big. That's like
I was actually very
saddest Wes
emotional during
Anderson scene
that. I'm
ever.
sorry. I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking of like family dynamics would be emotional in that movie, but I didn't find any of them at all to be emotional.
Mhm.
But interesting. Okay, yeah, that actually did get me though. One last thing I want to say about the Darjeeling Limited. Um, as shitty as some of these characters are and some actions, these guys are fucking coping this whole ass
Oh my
movie.
god, dude!
They're going
You
through
can
so much
feel their
shit.
pain, like it
Yeah,
is palpable, and it
yeah.
hurts. Like I said, this movie hurts. It is his probably most depressing movie, and like the most fucked up thing of like
It
any
probably is
Wes
his most
Anderson movie
depressing.
happens, like you just watch a child die in one scene, and you spend the next like
Yep,
15 minutes of the movie literally just mourning, and it's like,
yep.
whoa, that's like that hit, that was hard. And
Yeah.
I thought it was really bold that he went that way with the movie.
It's
Um,
very bold, and I don't know if it totally paid off,
it did for me. It
um,
did for me. But
but it was definitely needed for these characters.
mhm.
Um, I feel like as much as even though we put this in our lowest spot, I feel like we could talk about this movie all day long.
Absolutely. So
Honestly,
this is the thing. It's like, um,
we didn't even mention Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzman, or Owen
yeah,
Wilson
yeah. Oh
being
my
awesome as
god.
the brothers.
I really want to see more Adrian Brody in Wes Anderson movies. I'm pretty sure he's one of the leads
You just
in
want to
French
see him because he's
Dispatch.
hot.
He's so hot. He's so hot. His facial
Yeah,
structure is just fucking unreal.
it's incredible.
And he's so good in this and in Grand Budapest. And I'm pretty sure he has one of the leading
Yeah.
roles in French Dispatch. So I'm really excited for that. I think he
Okay,
does, but
cool.
I'm
very
not
excited
100%
for
sure
that.
if he does. I can't remember, but I feel like I remember seeing it.
I'm very excited for Trenches.
Yeah, I really can't wait for that to come out. I'm so pissed that it hasn't come out yet. But
Did you want to move on?
yeah, we can move on. I'll just
Okay.
say, yeah, I obviously love Darjeeling Limited. These movies, this kind of like clump of Royal Tenenbaums, Darjeeling Limited, and I'll reveal it. My number 7, which is Isle of Dogs, are all like 4 stars for me. So like that's how much I love all these movies. The bottom one is
And
a
then
3.5, and then this clump is 4. The next clump is 4.5. The next clump is all 5. So it's I
we
love
can
these
go
movies, and
ahead.
this was hard to make, especially like separating the ones in these clumps. This clump was hard to do
I
of Isle
agree.
of Dogs,
I
Darjeeling,
agree.
and Royal
It
Tenenbaums for me.
got
But
harder the further I went down my list. I
the
agree.
top is like so top heavy for me, and so easy that
Yeah, it was more easy to put in my top 5 than it was my
mhm,
bottom 4.
absolutely. But yeah, Isle of Dogs is my
We
number
can't talk
7 though.
about
So
Isle of Dogs if you want because that is my number 6.
oh okay. Fucking is that the order that we're in? Yeah, because you haven't said Rushmore or Tenenbaums. Okay, yeah, bet. Well, let's get into it then. Isle of
Wait,
Dogs.
what did I say?
You win.
What did I say?
Oh wait,
Yeah, we're on
actually, what
6
did
though,
you?
right?
I should have numbered
My
these.
7 was Darsh.
Hold on. I'm gonna number these real quick. I can't believe I'm doing this right now, but I keep losing
Sorry.
track of just the numbers that each one is. I have them like listed out, but I didn't put a number in front of each one. So
Shit, I'm gonna just get it right now.
I'm literally just gonna cut this out now. I can't believe I'm spending
That's
this much time on it.
fine.
But
Actually, that was my number 8. I think. I'm sorry. It was my number 8.
All right, I got them all listed out. All right, do you have them listed now?
In my head, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I have the numbers, so it's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, now that we got that figured out, so yeah, so
Alright.
I've got recap: Rushmore at 9, The Royal Tenenbaums at 8, Darjeeling Limited at 7, and then Isle of Dogs at 6. And then you want to list yours off up to 6, and then we'll go into Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, I can do that. So Bottle Rocket was my number 9. 8 Darjeeling Limited. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so bad. And then I put Isle of Dogs as my number 7. My number 6. I'm sorry.
Isle of Dogs is your 6?
It's my 7.
7. Okay. Let's get into it because it's my 6. So obviously,
What was your 7?
7 was Darjeeling Limited.
So what was your 8 and 9?
Oh my
Sorry.
god, Rushmore, Royal
Oh,
Tenenbaums.
Rushmore.
Yeah. You're getting
Or
it. You're getting
Rushmore
it.
Tenenbaums. That's right.
You're,
Okay.
you're okay. We're back on it. But anyway, Isle of Dogs is
Hey,
my number 6. It's your number
listeners,
7.
right now, Jacob just got off work. I woke up like an hour ago. It's 8:28 in the morning that we're filming this for you. Okay, so
Yeah,
be wary. We're working through it.
that's okay though.
But let's talk
I'm
about
glad
Isle
we're
of
back on the
Dogs,
schedule.
shall we?
Of course. Obviously, like I said, this is in the clump of 3 of 6, 7, 8 for me. That was all 4 stars. That was really hard for me to place. But when it came down to it, I just love Isle of Dogs so much. I love animated movies. Animation has always just been such a staple, favorite medium in general for me my whole life. And he's done it better with Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think, but that's not a slight to Isle of Dogs in any way, because Isle of Dogs is really, really incredible in its own way. The only like really big downsides I have that I think weigh the movie down, even though it is done in a pretty good creative way that I don't hate, is a lot of the exposition throughout the beginning is so just like boom, 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 like just they're just going down a list, listing everything. Oh, okay, we can finally kick the story in now, um and so that was kind of like the like big issue I have with the movie. But besides that, I think the world building in Isle of Dogs is quite possibly the most beautiful and textured world that Wes has made, and it's so just stunning. Yeah, I think it's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, Isle of Dogs is I haven't seen it since it came out. I remember it pretty well. And I remember specifically loving it, not just for its attention to detail and its stop motion, but in fact its score.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
a
my god, it
pretty
scores
incredible music in this movie.
bangers.
And if I had to take anything away from it, it had to be that. Sorry, Wes. Your claymation shit is really incredible, but whoever you had working on that score did a banger job.
It was
Oh,
he had his classic Alexandra Desplat on the score, who's worked on
gotcha.
basically every single Wes Anderson score.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't have really anything bad to say about it, other than I feel like this is the first Wes Anderson movie where I feel like some scenes were dragged on a little bit, and this movie could have been a little bit shorter.
hmm
Uh, but regardless, I fucking love Isle of Dogs.
hmm
And I love when he does animation. I think it's really good. I
Yeah.
think it's some of his best work.
There's one thing that I want to start kind of getting into now. And it's really the new styles that Wes adopts and uses in his movies, and specifically like specific shots and framing. You'll see him not use it at all, and he uses it in one movie, and then it's in every single movie of his after that. And there's just so many different instances of that throughout basically every single movie that is released, where it kind of focuses on one aspect of his style, especially in his early years. And then, as I said, builds onto it and builds onto it as he's really forming his style. And it kind of comes to that peak in Grand Budapest Hotel of
I
all
was
the
gonna
different
say his
things.
peak is Grand
Yeah,
Budapest.
of all the different styles, just like clashing in so many different crazy cool ways. But the one style that he starts to explore in Isle of Dogs, because this is the most recent movie that came out after Grand Budapest Hotel, is split screen. And so he has explored split screens before, namely in Moonrise Kingdom, with all the phone calls are all done split screen. But the way that he uses a split screen in Isle of Dogs is really fucking cool. In the way that stuff interlaps from one screen to the other, and it's just it uses it a lot in this movie. Like there's a lot of uses of split screen in this movie, and I know there's going to be a lot more uses of it in the French Dispatch, because you could tell he's really figuring out how he likes to use split screens and how they can interact with each other and not just be, purely a split screen just to show two different ends of a telephone wire. It can be there can be so much more conveyed through that style of editing. And that's the big takeaway in style from Isle of Dogs that I think is so impressive. And why I didn't say anything on Darjeeling Limited is I feel like that's really one of the movies, like we were talking about how it's the least Wes Anderson movie. I feel like he doesn't really make any breakthroughs or strides in directorial capability or style in any way. I think he plays it safe in that aspect in order to go a different route in story, which pays off in some aspects but doesn't in others. But Wes's style is something
he didn't need to go safe for that movie. He really didn't. I don't understand why
he didn't need to, but that is just kind of how it played
because
out,
that's a movie not many people have seen. So,
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to? Oh wait, should I do my number 6 now? We could talk about my number 6 if we do it.
Of course. What is your number 6?
It's the Royal Tenenbaums.
Okay, beautiful. Let's get into that. So obviously, I had the Royal Tenenbaums at my number 8. Nick has it as his number 6. So let's get into it. I'll kind of start with why I have it so low. Sure. Obviously, we've said this a million times. I don't think we need to have this caveat anymore, but we love all of these movies, and including this one. I hate them all. I really do love Royal Tenenbaums. And the thing that's really always been interesting about this movie to me is Wes has been my favorite director for quite a long time now. And basically every single adult that I've talked to who is a fan of Wes Anderson, Royal Tenenbaums is their favorite. Adult? Oh, I'm an adult now, I guess. Yes.
You're 21 years old, Jacob. Happy birthday.
I guess I'm an adult. But in the past, when I've talked to adults, gotcha. Every single time their favorite was Royal Tenenbaums. I've always been interested by that, and I can understand it in a lot of ways. But reality, when it comes down to it, the way that it's told just is not nearly as creative or interesting as any other Wes Anderson movie, I think, besides Rushmore, which I do have a spot lower. But, me and Nick have talked about it a lot on the podcast, so I feel like it's finally time to address the white elephant in the room with it on Wes Anderson, is how much Nick and I hate narration. We talk about it practically every single episode, and I don't think there's a single Wes Anderson movie that doesn't have narration in it.
Yeah, they all do. They all have narration.
In some way, shape, or form, they do. And I've been really wondering on these rewatches, like, why am I so okay with it in Wes Anderson's movies? Why am I okay with it?
It actually did bug me when I watched it.
And
on this time around. And this is the only movie where it bugged me, in fact.
That's the thing. That's why it's so low. That's the number one reason why it's so low, is it really didn't bug me on any of the other ones, besides slightly in Isle of Dogs, like I said, but all of the other ones not at all, but only slightly in Isle of Dogs, but none of the other ones. Darjeeling Limited barely does it. I don't think Darjeeling Limited has any narration. Another weird West thing of his divergence in that movie. But
that movie feels like it could have been one shot. I'm sorry, we're going back to it, but
That would have been
Darlene Sheen
cool. That
Limited
would have been
Field.
cool.
I feel like if Wes could have been super ambitious and done a one shot on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. But yeah, that is really just a big reason. The narration. I hate omniscient narrators that like I the big way to make a narration work is to have the narrator interact in the story some way. Um
Oh yeah.
and it doesn't at all in Royal Tenenbaums, and that's a
Or
big letdown.
yeah. Well, he expertly does it with uh uh sorry, Grand Budapest.
Hmm.
We'll get to that, but he does narration very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
That's what, like in all of his other movies, he
even
has it in some way, shape, or form, and it
yeah.
basically always works for
I
me.
think
Besides in
I
Royal
th-
Tenenbaums.
I like the Royal Tenenbaums. My only issue with it is he did do Rushmore before this, and Royal Tenenbaums kind of feels kind of like Darlene Limited in a way where I feel like he could have been a little bit more ambitious, especially with the fucking cast he has. Jesus Christ, this is his third movie, and he's got Gene Hackman as his fucking like
As his lead.
tertiary
Yeah.
character. Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
Fucking
Well,
insane.
also this is not Hackman's last movie, is it?
No. Is it? No way. 2001 is Royal Tenenbaums.
When was Welcome to Moose? Because that was one of the last things I've seen him, and that was like
Wait, Gene
early
Hackman's not dead?
2000.
I thought Gene Hackman was
No,
dead.
no, but he kind of retired. He hasn't been making movies.
Oh, yeah. So he did, after Royal Tenenbaums, he did Behind Enemy Lines, Runaway Jury, and Welcome to Mooseport in 2004.
So Welcome to Mooseport was his last,
Yeah.
and that's a shitty movie. God
I've never
damn.
seen it. Don't plan to.
It's
But,
don't.
hey, shout out to French Connection. Gene Hackman's amazing in that movie. But anyway, Royal Tenenbaums is an interesting movie. I do agree he could have gone a lot more ambitious in a lot of ways. I think the narrative structure is just such a big halter to the movie that makes basically all the emotional scenes hit a lot less hard. And the thing that's interesting about Royal Tenenbaums, it is more so than any of his other movies, it's purely a character piece.
Yes.
And
that's where I think it struggles. Actually,
that's the weird thing about it is it's purely a character piece, but none of these characters feel more fleshed out than any of the best characters in Moonrise Kingdom or Grand Budapest or Mr. Fox. You know, like none of them feel as developed as they should be when it's purely a character piece, and that's just so strange. Honestly, it's
I completely agree because you look at his other movies, especially as he goes further. I mean, his next fucking movie, he handles an incredible cast.
Oh my god, yeah.
I kind of feel like maybe he was a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of
Royal Tenenbaums
cast.
yeah.
That's I don't know because it feels
the reason
like
why
not
I find it a little bit
got their due.
hard to believe that he got overwhelmed is because his very next picture he picks up, like $20 million more dollars, an even bigger cast.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like maybe not overwhelmed, but like not completely in his element as he is now with giant cast.
He's obviously incredibly
he
used
likes
to big
make every
now.
character very important. And which is great. You do that. But with Royal Tenenbaums, there's characters that fall flat. There's characters who you lose interest in. And there's motivations in here where you're like, I don't like it, and I don't like you for this. So it's definitely understandable why this is lower on your list. It's lower on mine too. It's my number 6. So, but I put it up my number 6. I put it up above Darlene Sheen, and I put it up above I Love Dogs because this is a movie I grew up with this movie, so I have a lot of heart attached with this movie, regardless of my issues with it, because I don't know, it's really good. I also want to mention I fucking love Luke Wilson in this movie. He's incredible.
Oh, dude,
This
just
might be my favorite
so
performance
good.
he's ever done.
It's oh, sorry, for some reason I was thinking about Owen for a second. Yeah, it probably is his best performance. That, and honestly, Bottle Rocket. He's pretty amazing in Bottle
Haven't
Rocket.
seen it, but
But
I'm excited to see it.
he
He's
is
like 20 in that, isn't he?
yeah,
He's like super young.
his first role, Owen Wilson's first role,
Oh,
Wes's first movie after graduating film school. And speaking of getting random stars in his movie, fucking has James Caan in one of the leading roles in Bottle Rocket, which is just absurd how the fuck he was able to get that. But
did he have connections to the industry before, or was he just
he must have. He must
talented?
have.
Yeah. Okay. He always seemed like that kind of director that probably knew
A
someone.
little bit of a nepotism baby, but he has like the strength and like creative ambition to make up for it.
Clearly shows that he's capable of making incredible
Exactly.
movies. Like
Exactly. And
he's not just a random industry.
he's
fund,
not
you know?
doing it just to do it. He's doing it because he loves to do it and wants to do it.
Yeah, clearly. And studios are like, fuck yeah, give us an Oscar, please. Every time you make a movie.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything else
We'll
you want to
move
say
on.
on Royal Tenenbaums? Yeah.
Not really. Not really.
Last thing I will say on it is just the line reading and the just short scene of after the car crash and everything, when Chazzy is sitting on the sidewalk with Royal, and he starts to like break up, and he just goes, I've had a really rough year, Dad." It's just like the like kind of like peak of the movie to me, I think. And like is just the most emotional, like hard hitting point in the movie. And
Yeah.
definitely my favorite part of
I
it.
agree.
And another reason I didn't really talk about style as much in this one, and how it relates to his career, and everlasting and ever evolving style, is the style that he primarily does develop and learn in this movie is the narration and book aspect that he does explore in a lot of his other movies. And he definitely does not do
Love
it
the
even
title
remotely close
title
to
card to
how
this
it
movie.
should. Or sorry, it's not remotely close to how good he does it in the future, but it is that big stepping stone for him, absolutely, in his third feature, alongside all of his other movies. You know, every single one
I agree.
is just really important in his filmography. He's definitely like one of the most cohesive filmmakers, and it's really cool to see such
He's very
small
cohesive.
incremental growth. You know,
Is that a word?
cohesive. I think it's cohesive, but
Yeah, cohesive is probably not.
I think cohesive is the word, but it's okay though.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. We'll move on. So I can have my little aside real quick for Bottle Rocket, because Bottle Rocket is my number 5.
All
It's
right, talk
Wes
about it.
Anderson's first feature. I have it this high up on the list, and so this was a surprise on this rewatch. I won't lie to you. I initially had this ranked in last place, and I really did think this movie was really good, but not anything super special. And there's very clearly like a lot of like almost like film student-esque things that happen in the movie, but there's just
Is it
an
not a film
energy.
student, or was it?
It was made like right after he
was
graduated, but he
technically
had
right
he had
after,
a
okay.
I mean he had like a budget for it. You know, he made a short film, and then it was based on the short film, so he got the budget from that. Which is also how he was able to land James Caan, because the short film was so highly praised. But Bottle Rocket, the moments where this movie really shines. This is probably my 4th time watching it, and every single time I've loved it more and more. And the thing that I grow to love more and more is the performances from Luke and Owen Wilson. You mentioned that Luke Wilson's performance in Royal Tenenbaums is probably his best, and it probably is, but I'd give it to his performance in Bottle Rocket, honestly, because it is so incredible. This movie is the goofiest Wes Anderson movie, no doubt. The characters are the dumbest out of any of his movies. They do the dumbest shit, the funniest shit. There is almost no intensity throughout like any of the movie. It's so just like lighthearted, and where all the love and heart comes from in the movie is the performances of the two leads and their connections. The characters are so rich with detail, and the way that that detail is given to you throughout the movie through just tiny lines that barely mean anything, and facial expressions, reactions towards lines. Like, for a directorial debut, so much of this movie, and acting debut, so much of this movie is like close-ups on their faces, and like that's just such a bold thing to do that early on in your career, and it pays off so heavily in this movie because of the way that the writing builds these characters. They just feel so just beautiful, you know. And there's a love relationship in the movie with a maid that is really, really beautiful, and I just cannot just grin ear to ear when I'm watching this. And I'm probably gonna love this movie even more when I rewatch it for years to come. This is the next bracket and the list as well for me, where this jumps up to the 4.5 stars. I think this movie is just amazing. Little tidbit about it that I think is hilarious is it was Martin Scorsese's like favorite movie of the 90s. Something like that, or it's like in like his top 5 movies of the 90s. Like I saw it in this old like interview he did with Roger Ebert, where he's talking about his favorite films in the 90s, and he talked about Bottle Rocket, and I just think that's awesome. And my love for this movie always grows, and it's on Amazon Prime, so I know Nick's gonna check it out. Definitely check it out if you haven't. And like all of his other movies, it's at a super tight 90 minutes, just really well written movie. It's really funny. A lot of the dialogue, it's a very quickly edited movie. Lots of the dialogue, you know, they'll have a conversation, and the conversation will just continue like nothing happened, but they're in a completely different setting, you know. And it's kind of funny in a way that it does it. It's definitely jarring at times.
Coen brothers invented that.
Yeah, the way that they use it is interesting. They
love
use it
when
in a
directors
very
do that.
noticeable way. And the way, and Wes kind of has gotten away from that. Actually, he rarely does that as much in his recent movies. He still does it at times, but not even remotely to the extent that he does in Bottle Rocket. And I think it really adds to the characters, honestly. And it's just such a great movie. I love Bottle Rocket so much. I got a few friends who think it's like Wes Anderson's masterpiece, and I don't know about that, but it's fucking amazing. And it's definitely gotten better on every watch. So excited to watch it more and more. But that's Bottle Rocket. That's at my number 5.
Nice.
So
I like that.
we'll move on from that to your number 5.
Yeah, my number 5 is Rushmore.
Fuck yeah. Before we go into that, we'll just recap real quick. I got Rushmore at 9, Royal Tenenbaums at 8, Darjeeling Limited at 7, Isle of Dogs 6, Bottle Rocket 5. You go. what do you
Rushmore. Oh, you want me to read down my list? Sorry.
Yeah, just quickly, and then
I can do
we'll
that.
go to Rushmore.
Number 9 is Bottle Rocket. Haven't seen it. Will watch it. Darjeeling Limited is my number.
I just want to hear you.
Is my number 8. Number 7 is Isle of Dogs. Number 6 is Royal Tenenbaums, and number 5 is Rushmore.
Cool. Yep. So let's get into it. So Rushmore, another one that I obviously, one of the bigger changes in our list. I have this in last, and it's the only Wes Anderson movie that I don't have rated at 4 stars or up. And there's a lot of reasons why. Honestly, like I said,
let
I
me
really did
put
not
some
love
praise
this
in
as
this
much
movie
as I
first.
thought. Okay.
Let me give this movie some praise, because it is my number 5. So Rushmore is actually one of the first Wes Anderson movies I ever watched. I think Life Aquatic was the first one, but I remember watching Rushmore in high school in a film class that we took for English and literature. And Rushmore was recommended because it's very high school centric. It has to deal with a lot of adult themes that comes, with Jason Schwartzman's character introducing himself into a lot of non-traditional things that he would be doing as like a 15-year-old. So
Mm-hmm.
he has him doing like all these clubs and whatnot. He's out here working with contractors and whatnot to build aquariums. This kid is just not normal. And I feel like we've all grown up with someone like this who's like super ambitious, super like involved, but when it comes to like their schooling and their grades, they always fall
Mm-hmm.
behind. I don't know. Or they feel like they're too smart for school, which sometimes they are. Um, but one thing I got out of Rushmore that I don't get out of anything else that Wes Anderson does is his the way he directs children is much different than the way he would do it later on in Moonrise Kingdom, even in something like Grand Budapest. Uh, these children are like fucking lawyers, bro. Like
Yeah.
these kids are not normal, but they're like 12. I would say max. Some of these kids are like probably like 9 years old, and they're delivering like incredible lines. The fact I don't know. I find his directing set aside a little bit more for his writing and movie, and I love it for that because uh, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like he cared too much about sense of camera work. He cared more about what these characters were delivering on screen. I appreciate that with Rushmore, and I love almost all of these characters. I love Bill Murray as what's his face, Mr. Something.
Something.
Uh,
It's definitely something.
anyway, he's the contractor that Schwartzman is working with.
Yeah.
But he's incredible. Um, the fucking
Mr.
little
Blue.
kid that plays Dirk is amazing.
Dirk is so good, dude. I love Dirk. That's a top tier West character.
There's just a lot of great moments in this. My favorite moment in this movie is kind of corny, kind of artsy, kind of playful. I don't know. Bill Murray is at like a party, his son's kid, and he couldn't give a shit. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't give a fuck. He hates his wife, smoking a cigarette, and he just decides, oh fuck, I'm gonna jump in this dirty ass pool. But I love the shot of him coming up with his Budweiser fucking swim trunks, which I need a pair of right now.
They're fucking
And
awesome.
dragging a cigarette before hopping off
Into this
a
green ass
diving
pool.
board. Jumping into a green ass pool with leaves covered in it and just sitting in there. Just enjoying that little moment of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And I related to a lot, and I dug that. This movie's also like introduction to Wes Anderson being kind of a doomer. And you see that in all of his movies, even though some of them have like a brighter, happier aesthetic to it, he always has that theme in his movie.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he executed that pretty well in this one as well.
Yeah. Rushmore is definitely a fun movie. I will say I do pretty big time disagree with the sentiment that he kind of puts away his directing style to really focus on his writing more in this movie, and I guess that is partially true in the way, but the main thing in his directing style that was a big hindrance to the movie, I think, to me, is its overuse of montage. And I think there's a lot of great montages in the movie for sure.
That's an editing choice, though. That's not a directing choice.
I guess that'd be more of a writing choice, because I mean,
True.
yeah, I guess that'd be more of a writing choice rather than any of it. Because I mean, I like the scenes in a bottle. That's the thing. Most of the movie, I think, in a bottle, most all the scenes are good, but the way that it kind of just ends up connecting, and yes, that is important
This
for the editing.
there is like
but
3 montages in this movie, isn't there?
it is like the most montage heavy Wes Anderson movie, and that's the one style point I wanted to point out for this movie. That was the big changer in his career, is his learning to use montages properly. And he really starts to explore it heavily in this movie with it's just an insane amount of use. But as is with all of his other techniques, starts to perfect later on. More so.
Kind of makes sense though. Like a lot of these montages usually have to involve Schwartzman's character doing shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like in a bottle.
It's just like character development, I guess. But I see where, like, after the third montage with the fucking indie rock song comes on, you're like, oh, come. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I felt like it just felt like almost like a little bit of a cop out at times. And I don't know. There's something about the way that Max and his relationship with the teacher is handled that is weird. I don't know. It's not like pedophilic in any way, but like I don't know.
She never goes on to him, so
yeah. I just
he's the only one that goes on to her.
I know
so.
It's more so. I wish she was more like aggressive towards the I don't know more aggressive towards the like true danger and like horror of like what that situation actually means, you know.
Except she handled it.
She did handle it in
probably the best way she could have. What she should have done is cut him off completely.
Yeah, that's the thing. It definitely made me a little bit uncomfortable, like towards the end.
Well, I think those are meant to be uncomfortable, but there was never a point in time where she was going to engage with it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do wish she.
Because even when he kisses her, she's like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah. Like that's that moment where
she had a disgust on her face, like this child just kissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she clearly has like a relationship with Bill Murray, Bill Murray's character.
Yeah, that's a great dynamic.
Which leads into like, an incredible dynamic.
Yeah, just them like battling over her is like the best part of the movie, honestly. But Rushmore is really fun. You know, there's just structural beats I'm just not a huge fan of. Some writing beats, yeah, it's just not as strong. I think, he goes a little bit crazier with like I was saying. I think he does maybe experiment a little bit too much, instead of focusing on having like a stronger story, but. Another caveat, I do love the movie, and it's still very fun. So, whatever, though. But
move on to number 4?
Yep, that's Rushmore. My number 9, your number 5. We'll go on. My number 4 is Grand Budapest Hotel.
Nice.
Fuck yeah. What's your number 4?
I'm putting in Life Aquatic as my...
I thought... Okay. We'll figure this out. You definitely said you were putting Life Aquatic lower earlier, and then when we were like redoing the list, like re-going over them, I noticed you didn't say it, and I didn't say anything. But you definitely earlier said that you had Life Aquatic at like 7 or 8 at one point. I have the footage. I swear to God.
Well, I also said I'm doing my list right now.
Oh yeah, whatever. So you have Life Aquatic at 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Go run down your
list.
You
want me to go back? Life Aquatic's number 9 because like.
No, I don't want you to go back on your word. I'm just trying to figure out what you actually mean, what you actually are ranking them.
Well, let me see. I did just say Life Aquatic's my number 4, so I might mean that Life Aquatic's my number 4.
Up.
We could figure this out somehow. But,
oh my God.
Yeah, look at you.
You're a bastard. You're a bastard, man. Run through your list.
It's my number 4.
Yeah, it's your number 4.
You want me to go through my list again?
No, whatever. Fuck you.
I
Whatever.
can go. Number 9 is Bottle
Nope,
Rocket.
nope,
Number
don't
8 is
care
Early.
anymore. My
Okay.
number 3. Number 3 is
What's
The
number
Life
3?
Aquatic with Steve Zissou. So
Let's talk about it.
we'll talk about it. I will just say right now, real quick, just how your list is turning out. Obviously, I can assume what your top 3 are, and I'm very happy with how they fell. But
I figured.
we'll get into that after. I'm very glad. But regardless, Life Aquatic Steve Zissou. I got the intern shirt on right here. I got it at number 3. You got it at number 4. I think this is a perfect movie. Another one that's gotten better every single time I've rewatched it. And this movie is so fucking cool, dude. Oh my god, this movie is so cool.
Yeah, this movie is honestly super ambitious, but he really comes through um, with like this very interesting story about a fucking insane crew
Mm-hmm.
of
And just like an
what
insane,
what are they
like,
called?
horrible oceanographers.
Yeah, oceanographers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're following
um,
this main character who's like racist,
horrible.
sexist, homophobic,
He's a horrible person.
transphobic, like the worst fucking person. uh, and then you see these people who are like unwaveringly like following him, and it's just like, why? And then you like grow to understand why, and it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. This movie pulled a fast one on me. This movie
So
fucking gave me the old reach around.
it definitely gave me the old reach around, but it was dry. I'm not gonna lie. They call it the Life Aquatic, but it was dry.
uh,
Um, uh, I already mentioned this previously, but this is where I started. This is especially on this rewatch. I was like, I noticed this is where Wes Anderson starts doing. I hate this. I hate saying this, but like cutesy kid directing, where he does super framey imagery
hmm
and uh, character dialogue that's
Yeah. At this point
how do
in
I
his career,
describe
it's the
it?
most Wes Anderson esque.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
at this
Wes
point, it
Anderson
definitely
like,
is.
yeah, at this point it is, and this is the direction he started going to, um, and that you would see later on. So for that reason, I gotta give it its dues. It's
hmm
my number 4 because of that. And I, out of all of his movies, I'm not the biggest fan of these characters more than I am. Like I even like characters in Rushmore more than. But in terms of directing, which is the thing I respect the most about Wes Anderson,
hmm
this fucking movie is incredible. So precise.
hmm
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Life Aquatic is. I obviously I disagree with the character bit. I think they're just so well fleshed out and so well written. That's one of the big highlights for this movie for me is the way that he's able to develop this ensemble cast and one of the best ways. Obviously, not as good as my number 1 or 2 movies, I think, but comparatively to all of his other movies, which all have very big ensembles for the most part, I think he does the best job at directing them and really giving each character its voice and life and really fleshing them out
Each character
to
does have a
the
voice. It's
point
interesting.
like that you want. Like you get all the information that you want from all the characters that you want from. And that's just a
Even
really
Pele,
impressive
who
thing.
just like singing
Yeah,
David Bowie songs.
just amazing. It's so incredible, and the way that the movie is like a documentary is just obviously something that I love so much and just find so much joy in. And the way that it feels like you're watching the documentary that they're making. Even at times, you're quite literally watching scenes from it, and that's just so fucking cool. It's just such a
I
creative
agree.
movie. I think this man. It's his biggest budget. I talked about it earlier, 30 million. First time he's gotten a real big budget, and he directs this random boat trip about the most unlikable people he's ever written. It completely flops at the box office and doesn't even get like great reviews either. But for some reason, this is, even though you mentioned it too, and it's definitely true. Like this is the one where he really starts to come into his own form with his very specific directing style.
I feel like
and it's so weird that he embraced it more afterwards and like accepted it when this was such a big failure. You know, like that's really brave to me. I think. That he knows what he likes.
That's why he made Darla Jean the way he did, because it's
maybe
not
absolutely. I think that definitely. I think that definitely had an impact on it. No doubt.
That's too bad, because it's where he's his best. It's when he's directing like Life Aquatic, and obviously we see that later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you wanna, did you want to say anything else about that?
Not particularly. Do you think it's a perfect movie? Because I do.
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think any of these, except for maybe my top 2, are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my top 3.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. I'm obviously massive.
I could give some examples for like Life Aquatic. Okay. There's some scenes I feel like was probably dragged on a little bit long. Could have been.
Mm-hmm. I feel that.
And I actually feel about the same way.
I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first saw it. Yeah. It felt very long the first time I saw it. And it definitely took me
it's his longest movie, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's just over 2 hours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, which is like surprising. Most of his movies are like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. A good majority of them are at the like hour 35.
Yeah, exactly. Like Grand Budapest, I was surprised. I was getting ready
even
for
Grand
Grand Epic.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's over. Like, yeah. That was the first time watching it too.
It's kind of crazy, but yeah, I love The Life Aquatic, Steve Zissou so much. It's so good. Another amazing Owen Wilson performance in this movie as Zissou's son, and
oh my god, yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, just heartbreaking. The last like 20 minutes of this movie always make me cry. It's so just like hard hitting, but just beautiful. Willem Dafoe, oh my god, like one of Wes's best characters. Willem Dafoe is so fucking funny. I love how childlike a lot of the characters are in this movie, especially like Willem Dafoe is the biggest caricature example of it, being literally just like a little brother. And I think it's so funny, and it works just on so many different levels for every single scene. It's so good. I love Life Aquatic. It's amazing. As is with most of these, it's gotten better every single watch. And it actually, honestly, this is weird to say. So I didn't really grow up listening to rock music, never really my thing, never really my family's thing. And there's a lot of big artists that I was introduced through Wes Anderson, namely one of my favorites now, David Bowie, through Life Aquatic. It's like, it's not that I didn't know of them. Same with like the Beach Boys and a lot of other Wes Anderson stuff. It's just I didn't actually actively listen to them until I heard their music in these movies, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And specifically those Pele performances throughout Life Aquatic are so unique and just so cool, and I love it.
Yeah.
Shout out Sue George.
I also love that they I think Pele plays is there Life on Mars.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, but they but there's a scene where in the very beginning where Giselle is like completely just ignorance is bliss to the world, and it plays that song, and it's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Just that drop, that save me, fire in the dance hall. Yeah. It's like, oh, so good.
Just
love
awesome.
David Bowie.
I mean, what do you think about the obviously the scene where they find the shark is just like amazing.
I love that.
Maybe
scene so much.
It's like top tier Wes Anderson scene.
So much.
Just so
good.
So that is the moment that, like, the film is building up to, obviously, but it's like that moment is everything you could have asked for in
I agree.
with that scene, and the context has in the movie. But I wanted to ask you what you thought about the stop action animals,
What?
the like miniature stop action animals
When?
in Life
What was this?
Aquatic. All of the animals were
Oh
stop
yeah,
action.
all the fish and shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my bad. Like the seahorse and whatnot.
Yes, the
Yeah,
seahorse, the
I
crabs, the shark. Like,
yeah, I actually really liked that. It gave it a little like Lovecraftian feel to it that was really sick.
mhm. Yeah,
I dug that. It was super unique.
I thought they were super cute. And I was watching it with my buddy August, and I know he said it kind of took him out of it whenever those would kind of pop up on screen. But I just thought they're just
Well,
goddamn
when it did pop up,
adorable.
I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," but I was like, "Oh, we're
I
in
didn't
this
think it was
kind of world."
interesting in like a takeout way. It was like, oh, that's interesting. I really like that. That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
fits with the world so much. But
Right on.
last thing
Right
before we
on.
wrap
Right
that up
on.
is shout out Jacques Cousteau. He is the oceanographer who Steve Zissou is based on. And quite literally, even like the blue shirt and red hats, like all of his crew wore that as well. Like it's basically like a biopic on that guy almost. I don't really know much about him. I'm gonna try and learn a lot more because I didn't really actually know about that until recently. But huge shout outs to Jacques Cousteau.
I mean, it makes sense. He's like one of those like old Tommy. We're going to explore the deep ocean.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, Life Aquatic's amazing. I love it. Also, my first Criterion movie I ever got. It's a Criterion Blu-ray
nice.
I bought at like a random DVD store when I was like 13 or 14. So
Nice.
shout out. It's still in its Criterion casing and like
Shout
got the
out
booklet and
whoever
everything.
returned that Criterion.
Yeah, honestly, God bless. But like a random record shop. Anyway, though, let's move on to your number 3, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. My number 3. This. Oh yeah, this is a. My number 3 is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Banger. Nice.
Yeah.
That's my number 2.
brother?
So we'll do that then. So Fantastic Mr. Fox is my number 2. This is my first Wes Anderson movie I saw. I have such a vivid memory of being 9 years old and watching this into theaters with my family, and all of us just being obsessed with it. My mom's username on Twitter is still it's like cussy ass Sydney or something like that, because the cussy at in the movie. Like it's such a staple in our family, that movie, and I've always loved it, and it's just an absolutely timeless movie. It's so perfect on so many different levels. I obviously, like I said, I think Steve Zissou is a perfect movie, and I think this is as well. I've loved it for so many years and had so many fond memories of showing this movie to people. I rewatched it the other night, and it's just so fun, But it definitely, I mentioned this earlier. I do think it is one of the bigger steps in his development of style. Steve Zissou is the first big step, absolutely. But the thing is, after Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think there is a notable change in his movies, because you have Fox, you have Moonrise Kingdom, you have Grand Budapest Hotel, and you have Isle of Dogs, which obviously there is 4 most recent movies. So just going off logic and looking at his past, obviously he's gotten more stylized as every single movie goes on. So it
feels like he not. I don't know. It feels like he was trying to be more stylized, and he put it out, and it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't feel like, it didn't feel like he had this in him before, and it felt like he had. Well, I mean, he had it in him before, but it felt like this is the first time he's like, "Fuck it, we're doing it the way I want to make it. We're doing it perfect, motherfucker," and it came out incredible.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this, and we'll talk about this. As we'll talk about the next few movies, but he just keeps getting better and better with his directing.
Hmm.
And this is so impressive because this is not only uh, him directing, but this is like him working with the whole ass animation studio and
Yep.
claymation. This is not easy work,
Not
and
at
he
all.
pulls it off. He pulls it off in an amazing way, and with the help of an incredible cast as well. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah. One of the only George Clooney starring Wes Anderson movies, and he is just amazing as the Fantastic Mr. Fox. He is just ungodly charming and has just such an essence
Mm.
to him that is just so captivating. And you just like, it was the same with like Steve Zissou. Like, man, this is a shitty guy. Why do I want to rob a bank with him? Like, why do I want to make this movie with him? Like, he's so infectious with his love and care to so many other things. It's hard not to get wrapped up into it. And that's a big reason, thanks to George Clooney. Alongside, we've got Jason Schwartzman, obviously, who's in basically all of his movies. We have all the people who are in all of his movies, like Jason Schwartzman, Owen and Luke Wilson, Bill Murray, Angelica Houston, just to name a few who fill out the main cast of people. And it's just
You just named
so
like five different
dense.
Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah, literally. It's
You just
just
named the
so,
main characters of like 1000.
yeah, literally, of like all of his fucking movies. That's it right there.
He loves working with those guys, and God bless them too. I mean,
Hmm.
they fucking obviously work so incredible together. He
Yeah.
would not be coming out with as much prestigious
Mhm.
as he is if he
Absolutely.
wasn't for those people.
The thing that
Because
like,
they understand Wes, I think,
mhm.
and that's why he loves working.
Something that I think goes really underrated in his filmography and just his directing that's so impressive to me, that I think is just really lazy and I don't know, just lame whenever I see people commenting on how every single one of his movies feels the exact same, especially style wise. I think it's just like so far from the truth. It's kind of unreal. Like the stylistic
Yeah.
improvements and risks that he takes through every single one of his movies is just an impressive feat in itself. But the way that he's able to use so many of the same actors through so many different roles, it adds such a complexity to them. And not only shows obviously all of these actors' prowesses, but his directing prowess and how he's able to mold anybody into anything that he wants. And that's just like so hard to do when he's constantly making ensemble pieces. Every single one of his movies is a goddamn ensemble piece. Like,
Yeah.
that's hard to do. It like, this guy is the
It's expensive
most
too.
stylistic director alive right now. He's
Oh yeah.
probably the most recognizably stylistic director of all time, purely off mass recognition. Um,
I agree.
and like, you have that like strength that he has through.
Hey guys, real quick. Okay, so I wanted to add this in. I was kind of going on a roll right here, and I had something building up, and I just completely lost it. I do pick it up and remember later on, but I kind of talk about how I'm going to cut this out and just trying to remember it, and then Nick and I just move on because I can't remember it. And then we have some pretty funny or other good discussions about some other things, and then I randomly remember it. And so I was going to cut it out and splice it some way, but I thought it had some good content and thought I'd keep it in. So, yeah, you'll hear me talk about how I'm going to cut out the footage, but obviously I didn't. So I hope you enjoy.
I lost it.
No, I was
lost it.
inspired for a second there, but
I'm
you're doing great.
literally gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this out to make it back because I need to get back on track because I was going somewhere right there and I actually completely lost it and I kept trying to stall
It's
because I
alright.
don't know how I lost it.
Don't worry about it.
That was so sad. Um,
If it comes back, you can say it.
give me just
You were
1 second.
going-
1 second. 1 second. Okay. I kind of got it. The way that he, even though he has this hyper specific style that everyone knows him for, but the way that he's able to mold that into so many different tones and stories is massively impressive. Every single one of his stories is so different from the last one. I just think it's like, I think it's really dumb to say that his movies are especially stylistically the same. It's because it's just so far from the truth. You know, he's such just a rich
Yeah.
director.
The only thing that's very samey about Wes Anderson is maybe his characters, but even then, it's so diverse and so convoluted.
Yeah, I mean,
that
like,
you
yes,
can't even really
like
say
basically
that.
every single one of his movies, he has like the shitty dad. Like, yes, we get it. He has daddy issues. You know, every single one of his
He has
movies has some shit,
big daddy
big
issues.
daddy issues.
He has like not just daddy issues. He has. We'll talk about this in probably Moonrise Kingdom, but he has some massive parenting issues.
Yeah, absolutely, he does.
So.
And that so much of his life is like revealed through so many of his different characters, and I think that's just so
I
beautiful
think
the
that's
way
why
that
he
he
works
does
with
that.
kids so well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
he I got
He
it
can
again
understand
a little
kids.
bit on what I was saying about you know, he is this hyper specific style, but he really is like the most impressive actors director as well, which is does not get enough credit for, I think, because he's
Sure.
like I was saying, this is what I was on earlier that I completely lost track of.
Let's hear it.
This is what it was. You know, he has this really strong hyper specific style, like we've been talking about so often, repeating all the time. This is what he's known for, but I think he should be more well known for is how he's an actor's director, similar to Steven Kubrick in a lot of ways, that he is a big time actor's director. This guy knows how to work with actors to get exactly what he wants, and that is just so hard to do. And the way that he's able to do that through the direction alone, not even casting, because, you know, like I said, he uses the same people. I think he definitely really needs to be in the running for one of the most impressive actor directors of all time, because it's just as impressive as his stylistic features, you know.
Yeah, it's honestly intimidating the way he portrays some of his characters. I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. That's fantastic, Mr. Fox. I love it.
That was your number 2?
It's my number 2. What's your number 2, baby?
Moonrise Kingdom. Hell yeah, baby.
Okay, nice.
Hell yeah.
Yep. I obviously have Moonrise Kingdom on number 1. I've talked about it many times. It's my favorite movie of all time. We'll talk about it in the second half because we're going to go more in depth because I have a lot of shit to say about that movie. But so obviously that will wrap that up by moving on to your number 1, which is obviously Grand Budapest Hotel.
Grand Budapest.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I have this at number 4. And so this is interesting about this movie. So this is a technical masterpiece. It's really undeniable, I think. The big stylistic change that he goes for in this movie that I think is so incredible is the aspect ratio, and the ways he plays with that I think is so impressive and leads to some of the most emotionally impactful scenes he's ever made. Specifically when it cuts to like Zero crying in the restaurant when he starts talking about Agatha. I think that's
I didn't even notice the aspect ratio.
I didn't notice it like the first time I watched it. I didn't notice it the first time.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Well, I remember it. I remember the very beginning. I was like, "Oh, we got aspect ratio going on." From that point on, I forgot about it.
And they cut back and forth between them too, and it's so seamless. It's so seamless.
They even like expanded it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
The thing I will say, just the one fault I have in this movie that like kind of hinders me from rating it a perfect movie, like I have in my top 3, and why it's fallen down in my list from previous years. Is I really just wish he explored certain characters more. You know, this is his biggest movie by far, character and story wise, and I think the movie should have been longer and gone more in depth into certain things and characters. Because unlike some of his other movies, I really just think he doesn't fully explore the depth that is teased through so much, and that is a pretty big hindrance on it for me, honestly.
It's not a hindrance for me, but it's something that I want.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's the reason why it's not completely perfect to me, because I was like, This movie could have been at least 30 minutes longer.
Yeah.
We could have developed this relationship a little bit more. And I want to see this character explore himself, but we didn't get to see that. I don't know, man. This is the first time I ever watched this movie the other night.
Really?
I have never seen this movie.
Wow.
Never seen this movie before.
That's crazy. I totally thought this would be like the one
I was always when this movie came out, I had only seen Life Aquatic,
like
Rushmore, and Moonrise Kingdom, and that's about it. Everything else, and I liked all those. I loved Moonrise Kingdom. I was so happy to watch that, but I was like, I don't know. I wasn't like interested to see Grand Budapest at all, and I never watched it. And I still like up until like maybe the last few years, I was like, well, I'll watch it eventually. And I finally watched it for this podcast, and I'm really glad I did because it's easily one of my favorite movies of the last decade.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly just well shot. The color palette in this movie is, I just want to eat every frame of this fucking movie. It's so good. Yeah. Regardless of its stylistic choices, I love these characters. And as you said before, I wanted to see them develop more a little bit with their relationships and their own self-preserving being. But I definitely wanted more of that. But Tony Rivoli,
oh my god, Zero.
Saoirse Ronan
is
incredible.
Yeah.
But I think Ralph Fiennes, as much as an asshole he is, definitely steals this movie.
He's so incredible. Also, Ralph Fiennes or Ralph Fiennes? I've always said Ralph Fiennes.
Oh, I've always said Phineas, but if it's Fiennes,
I have no idea.
Sorry.
Zero clue.
I am very sorry, Mr. Phineas Fine.
We'll say Phineas for now, I guess. I'll say that.
I think I've heard it called Ralph Phineas, but I think I've also heard it called Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah, he's definitely the show stealer of the movie.
I mean, he's like the main character, but he's like.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have made Tony Ravioli, I guess, technically the main character.
I mean,
but
he technically is.
He is. He's narrating.
The story revolves around him.
Yeah, he's the narrator. But God, I want to see a sequel to this movie, man. Like,
yeah, dude, that would be awesome, honestly.
Oh my! There's like two movies I want to see a sequel to from Wes Anderson, Mr. Fox, and this movie, and maybe even Moonrise Kingdom. I would love to see what those kids were like.
Absolutely.
Shit, man. Yeah, this was your number 4?
My number 4. Okay. Like I said, it really is. These other 3 I just think are absolutely perfect, and it's just like slightly below that.
Solid. I said my piece with Grand Budapest. Love that movie. My number 1.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else
I understand people who think the style gets in the way of Grand Budapest, but I definitely disagree. So
no fucking way, dude. Yeah. Like, it's like, I feel like if you've never seen a Wes Anderson movie and this is the first one you saw, maybe that's a valid criticism for you, but this is what he's been working towards, man, his whole career.
Yeah. And I kind of want to I want to touch on that now. What you said, this is what he's been working for. This kind of goes into a thing. I mentioned it to you briefly the other day, but it's kind of, I guess, a theory I have, but kind of just like a thing I noticed through watching these movies is Wes Anderson's relationship to 12, specifically 12 years, and what that means. And I did some research on just like a 12-year cycle and like our solar system, like our planet or the sun has a magnetic field that changes every 11 to 12 years. There are other things and like theories and philosophies on life that's believed that so many aspects in life revolve around a 10 to 12 year life cycle, and that's when big moments change. And so I started to notice that, namely...
That's actually so interesting. When I was 12, I finally learned how to masturbate. So, like, that was, like, an incredible moment for me. That was literally life-changing.
I can't believe you. I can't believe you.
I'm sorry. I had it.
Oh, my God. am I supposed
You
to
can cut
go
that
on with
out.
this spiel now? That's
You can cut that out.
oh
No
my
cuts.
god. Oh god. No, I'll keep that in. I'll keep that in. But yeah, I started to notice the 12-year thing in Life Aquatic because namely Ned, he sends a letter to Steve Zissou when he was 12, I believe, and then at the end when he is passed away and they're sitting it's actually when they encounter the shark, the journalist woman, I can't remember her name, but played by Kate Blanchett, who's also great in that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
She says something
Oh
like
yeah.
she said like in 11 and a half years this baby will be 12 or something like that. I don't know, like she randomly says that line and it's kind of weird, and that's what made me start to think about this 12-year thing and the 12-year cycle and how it relates to his filmography, is that line, because I'm like, that's kind of out of place, but maybe not. And that's when I noticed the how the 12-year cycle relates to his filmography specifically, because so we have the first 12 years of his career, which is the 4 years of film school that he has, and then the 8 years after that leading up until his first big movie that we talked about that had the biggest change for him, Life Aquatic, that comes out 12 years after he starts film school. So you have the first big beat, film school for him.
Wait, really?
And
That
then
was 12 years?
12 years later, because he has the 4 years of film school, and then Bottle
know
Rocket
that.
comes out the year after he graduates. Life Aquatic comes out. Biggest change in his style since quite literally starting. And then you have another 12 years of developing his style through Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Moonrise Kingdom, which start to really perfect it. And then you get right on that other 12-year mark. You know what's on that 12-year mark. It's Grand Budapest Hotel. Grand Budapest Hotel comes out 12 years later after The Life Aquatic, and it's another biggest step in stylistic change for him. And also money-wise, the biggest project he's gotten money-wise out of any of his past projects. And it's the biggest acclaim he's ever gotten, getting multiple Oscar nominations and wins through different categories.
Yeah,
And
that was a year for
that was just really, really a big moment in Wes Anderson's career, I think. And just looking at those 3 points in the 12-year cycle of his career, I think you can just see those moments of style that, have influenced him so much. And you only start seeing that number 12 in the 12-year cycle in Life Aquatic, which I think is so interesting. There's nothing related to 12 years basically at all up until Life Aquatic, but then you have the note in the off kilter line from Kate Blanchett. In the next movie, Darjeeling Limited, you again don't have any, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense with what we were saying earlier with how it's the least stylistic one of his movies. It kind of deviates a little bit away from that, almost like he kind of did it just to make money, but it still ended up turning out pretty good. And then after that, you've got Fantastic Mr. Fox. The big 12-year cycle that's noted in that movie is a 12-year gap between Ash's birth. They kill the chickens, Fox and years. Then 12 Fox years later, he goes back to it. That's the big change in that one. Moonrise Kingdom, both of the main characters are 12 years old, and that's obviously an incredibly important moment for them in their life alongside all of the other people of New Penzance and what that moment means to them. And then, we don't have any in Grand Budapest Hotel either that I remembered, but it falls on the 12th year with this cycle that I was talking about. And then in I Love Dogs, it's just hinted at as well. Atari's also just a 12-year-old boy. And so there's kind of those inklings of that inside of his career that I think is really interesting that I started to pick up on this go around. And I just think that's so cool that I've seen all these movies so many times and I'm still picking up new random things and like tying shit together in his filmography.
Yeah.
And I think that's
theory,
like
though on that is that it's just important.
It's just that numbered. Just the 12-year cycle and how it relates to his career and style and success, and not only just the theory of like just watching how that interacts with those 3 things, but also that I think Wes Anderson is very knowledgeable of it. Like I think he knows. I think he knows that the 12-year cycle is like a thing that has been what the fuck? Philosoph.
Don't even try it. Don't even try it. Don't even try
I
it.
gotta continue. I gotta
We'll just do
continue.
it.
Philosophize? Philosophize? Isn't that what the fuck is the word I'm looking for?
Hey, that's okay. I said cohese earlier, so
It's a very
all
cohesive
right.
story, but oh god. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, just because I thought that was really cool, just
That's
that
super
12-year
interesting.
cycle and how that relates to his career, and how I think he definitely is knowledgeable of it, and that makes me so excited for whatever movie he has coming out in 2026, because that's the next beat on the 12-year adventure, and it's gonna be a fucking banger. I know it is.
Watch it be like his worst movie,
That'd be crazy.
like on purpose.
Just
Like he
theory
comes
goes to
out like
shit.
purposely
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, that makes sense though.
So I like that theory a lot. Makes you think, definitely.
Yeah.
We've covered our list. We do have one more movie left, but that movie is our review.
Of course. So, stay tuned. Fucking check out all those movies. Let us know what you think on any of the Wes Anderson movies. Check out all the movies and notable watches. We're gonna take our little intermission break as we usually do, and we'll be back to give our full spoiler thoughts on Moonrise Kingdom. Stay tuned.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna go poop and then.
Yo, little intermission real quick. Hope you guys are enjoying the episode so far. This next half isn't really as long as the first because it's really just kind of us gushing about how much we love the movie, of course. But man, it's been such a great episode. Nick and I talking about Wes Anderson, one of my favorite writer directors of all time, and it just is so fun. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been listening so far. Of course, hope you stay until the end of the episode so you can hear what we're talking about in 2 weeks on our next episode, our topic and review. And if you want to participate in that, stay until the end to hear what we're going to be talking about and DM us at InTheClosetWJN. See you later.
Twisted genius, baby. Ugh. All right, guys, we're fucking back to review my favorite movie of all time, baby. Moonrise Kingdom. This is the 2012 release by Wes Anderson. It reads as follows: a pair of young lovers flee their New England town, which causes a local search party to fan out to find them. It's a super, super easy plot. Really doesn't take any massive structural or plot risks at all. But it's still somehow his richest movie, I think, especially in characters. Let's get into it, man. What do you think about Moonrise Kingdom? Obviously, you think pretty highly, and I'm very glad you do.
Let me tell you why Moonrise Kingdom. The worst exam. No, Moonrise Kingdom was fucking great. I'm so glad I rewatched this last night for the pod. So I didn't see this movie till a few years after it came out on Netflix, and I watched it when I want to say like 16 probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I definitely got a lot of themes and whatnot when I first watched it around that time. But I didn't recognize how well it was done till I've grown up a little bit.
This movie, I think it's up there with Darjeeling Limited as like potentially one of the saddest Wes Anderson movies. And just like some of those characters like are just fucking like depressed as shit. Like,
I mean, there's a character in this movie that literally says she's depressed. This movie is heavy, man. It's like when you first like see the trailer and whatnot, it looks like a fun, goofy Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like he comes through with his darker elements and his super heavy themes of depression, longingness for affection, family, the need for acceptance and love from parents that are tough, and that's relatable to a lot of fucking kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we said this before, but Wes Anderson, I think he really understands children and the children's mind, and
I
and,
yeah.
and the mind and growing up clearly shows that he can have a child around that age talk
Mm-hmm.
and act like a fucking 30-year-old. He's proved that already, but he's at the he and with Moonrise Kingdom, uh he's grounded it a little bit more, made it more
Mm-hmm.
realistic. Like every fucking kid, most kids will want to fucking run away from their house and set up a tent with their best buddy and never look back when they're like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I love his, how do I say that? Compassion for children's feelings,
Mm-hmm.
because it
He
totally
really
comes through.
understands children and really views them as their own people, not as children who haven't experienced anything, you know? And I think that's very
Hmm.
clear in all of his movies. Moonrise Kingdom is the prime example, I think, but it shows in all of his movies, even in his most recent I Love Dogs, spoilers, literally 12-year-old kid becomes the mayor of Japan at the end of the movie. Like, this is he very thinks highly of children. I think that's really cool in the way that he respects them.
Clearly, not only just children, but the child's mind, the
Hmm.
creativity that comes from it.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
The
Go
way
ahead.
I think a lot of this movie is something I couldn't get out of my head on this rewatch is importance, just the word importance, and what the movie is trying to highlight the importance specifically of, and that's kind of where the main purpose of the movie draws from. And I think it's the importance of love, the importance of sight and true sight, highlighted with the binoculars, the importance of adventure and childhood like wonder, and the importance of care and caring for others. I think that is what this movie is about, is those things and how the loss of those things can affect so many different people in so many ways, but how one tiny act of one of those things can change every single person around them. You can see the loneliness and the loss in all of the adults' eyes in this movie. And then as you slowly see them basically rebuild themselves through this giant thing that's going on. Um,
It's so interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that. This is the first movie where I'm like, oh my God, Evan Norton, are you okay, man? Like, you
yeah.
want to talk?
Yeah,
Like,
for
you
real.
feeling all right?
Dude, oh my
Like,
god. Edward
I've
Norton's
never felt
eyes
that.
in this movie are so just like sunken and just
Yeah.
beat, and it makes it, and it's just one of those tiny things, and you get to see him at the end with the receptionist lady, and it's like fuck yeah, like just the tiniest of thing, even having that love side plot was just really well done. And
Hmm.
uh and that
I
just
agree.
happens with so many different characters in the movie. Just building them up through the background or building them up through visual motifs. And that's one thing, again, on this rewatch that I noticed more out of any of his other movies is his use of visual motifs and metaphors to not only convey certain character progressions and character arcs throughout the story, but also just as a way to subvert expectations, whether it's for jokes or for dramatic beats. He does that in this movie. Like every other scene is a fucking um shot that was previously in it, but something slightly twisted, you know? You've got the
Mm.
lighthouse shot. You've got the shot of Edward Norton sitting there recording his mic. You've got the shot of Susie reading the book. You have the one still handheld shot of them walking forward. And like that happens a lot in the movie. You have these
Hmm.
very often reoccurring visual motifs, and the way it's constantly building on those in each of those scenes is just masterwork. It's so impressive that he's able to do that while still being one of his most stylistic movies. I think, like we've talked about, he has a very wide range of style in his movies. And this one, it feels the most inspired by like French New Wave movies, specifically in the use of like handheld shots. Like he probably does the most handheld shots in this movie out of any of his other movies,
I can see
besides
that.
like
Yeah.
maybe Life Aquatic. I think Life Aquatic maybe does more, but
It's not as noticeable in Life Aquatic as
yeah,
it is in
they use a lot of handheld shots in this movie, which
you are
is
right about
so
that.
bizarre. And it's shot on like super grainy, like 16 32 millimeter film. Like, it is just it has lots of comparisons to past work while having his own modern twist on it. And I think that it makes a really beautiful blend in this movie because he's not only taking past work of um, French New Wave style in his movie, but he's also taking past work in fairy tale literature and applying that to the story as well. And I think that's really impressive, is how this movie is basically a fairy tale in a way too. Just in the way that the world
In a
is
way.
crafted and the characters, like even though I said it's one of the sadder Wes movies, it is like the happiest and brightest when it comes to just like overall world building. I think like it is pretty lovely, a lot of the movie, just like the scenery. And obviously Wes is incredible at building worlds, and it's not his most detailed world in this movie, but the world that he does create is so like so otherworldly. I think that's one of the big fairy tale aspects of it, is the world that he creates. um it's different than a lot of his other movies. A lot of them do feel really grounded in reality in some sort of way, but New Penzance is like its own thing. It's so bizarre. It's like
It
a
feels
time
kind of
capsule.
like, in a way that, yeah, it kind of feels like a time capsule. It feels like it's like Middle Earthy,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? It
I can
feels
see
like it's
him.
Middle Earthy.
It's definitely very strange where it goes visually, but as I've said, it's so just beautiful and like naturalistic to me. I think it just works on so many different levels.
Yeah,
It really feels like you're going on this adventure with them at so many points, you know?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah,
Fucking, yeah, man. Yeah. Like, yeah.
absolutely.
What
Yeah.
else I gotta say about this movie?
Sorry, we're tired, guys.
Whatever.
We're working.
We're doing our best.
Did you wanna mention any of the main kids at all? Sam and
Sam and Susie,
uh
yeah.
Susie,
That
yeah.
was really important for bisexual Jacob growing up. Sam and Susie both.
That's so fucking funny. I do remember like being like, and granted I was like 15, 14 when I watched this. I was like, she's kind of cute. Not so much these days. She's
Yeah,
like a
I
12-year-old now,
really
but
hope not
in
these
that movie.
days,
But
but I definitely had a massive crush on both of them when I first saw this movie. Because they're both very cute.
I
Yeah.
actually love. I love how honest and how I love how honest and how real these two characters are with each other.
Dude, they give
Like
such
the
beautiful performances. It's like so
yeah.
so much of the movie is you see these two people interacting and the just love and care that they build for each other, and then you get to
Yeah.
see all of that missing in all of the other relationships. And so watching that contrast is what the
Mhm.
movie is. And so you get to see the other relationships slightly mold and try and come together a little bit more, due
Yeah.
to
It's interesting.
Sam and Susie's relationship. And that's just really impressive, I think.
Hmm.
And it's all told through those background characters, and it's all through basically visual motifs and random one-off lines that tie together and show massive character arc improvement. That is really interesting. How each of these adults kind of ties into one of the kid characters, especially
Absolutely.
Captain Sharp, Bruce Willis's character. It was like one of my favorite Bruce Willis performances. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with Bruce Willis in this movie, and the way that he's like so similar to Sam and their journeys and their routes, and you kind of get the same feeling that maybe the same type of scenario
Yeah.
happened to him a long time ago with Francis McDormand's character.
He seems to just really understand Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, their character. I see a lot of both of them in each other. And I think
Exactly.
that kind of
Yeah.
ties into the timelessness of this movie. And that can also tie into the 12-year cycle as well. Just in the idea that these kids are 12 years and there's so much love and care lacking in this world. And then you get to see that slowly built up on this cycle through these young kids' relationships and seeing how it massively affects all of these adults. And then through that, you get glimpses of how the adults used to be. And I think that kind of lends
Oh
to the
yeah.
idea of
It
a
makes it even
circling
more
narrative.
sad.
Exactly. It lends to the idea of a circling narrative, I think, of
Yep.
stuff repeating itself. This shit has
Yep.
all happened here before. The massive storm has happened here before. The love between a young, kind of aspiring cop has happened before who loses his love. But we don't want that to happen this time. We want
No,
the
we
happy
don't.
ending,
We
and we
want
get
them
to
to
see the
live on
happy ending
forever.
achieved, kind of, because the love is so strong and powerful through Sam and Susie. Um,
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful, and it really just comes to such a perfect climax. And obviously, the climax of the movie when it's pouring down thunderous rain and they're standing on top of the bell tower, and Sam and Susie are literally
I
about to
love that
kill
so much.
themselves. And then he fucking pops around the corner, asks for his hand to live with him. Tower blows up, and then you get the amazing shot. You get the
Yeah.
wide shot of them hanging. You get the look down shot of his perspective, looking down at the kids. And then it goes to a shot of Bruce Willis, and it's extreme close up on his face, but it's upside down. And it's like,
He's like,
I don't
he's
know
like, don't
why
let go.
that just yeah, it's like don't let go. And it's just like I don't know why that like just small shot choice right there is so strange, but it added
It
so
happens
much
in
to
the
that
span of
scene.
like 4 seconds too.
Yeah.
It's very
There's a
quick.
lot that happens in this movie. Like this is an hour and 34 minutes, and there's a lot that it
Yeah,
covers.
it's jam
But
packed for sure.
it never
I actually
feels
do feel like this
too
movie
much
could
to
have
me.
gone a little bit longer, and I would have been okay with that.
That's fair.
I wanted to see a little bit more of the beginning runaway. I wanted to go a little bit further. It makes sense that they were caught like the day after, but I would have loved to see them explore that a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two things I wanted to mention that I quickly wanted to mention,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can say your piece or we can wrap it up. But we mentioned two things: narration and montages. We both criticized
Yeah, let's talk
that.
about
Wes Anderson's point, but it's done expertly, simultaneously in this movie.
Yep.
When you have specifically Sam and Susie writing back to each other since the play where they met each other, or I don't know if that's the first time they met each other, but that's the first time they started engaging with each other.
The montage of the
And-
letters is so good, dude.
Yep.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
crazy. This movie definitely takes a lot of those big stylistic jumps that Wes has done throughout his career and puts them together in a way that feels more fluid than any of his other movies to me, because it never
I agree.
like the only one that he's like kind of exploring differently in this movie is more so the handheld stuff, I think, and some of like the story beats. But I don't really think he does some crazy directorial or stylistic innovations as he does in some of his other bigger movies in this one. But the way that he's able to pull together all those techniques is really impressive here. And yeah, that montage is so just incredible. And the narration, I mentioned earlier about one of the ways that you can make narration work is having the narrator interact with the story in some way.
Yes.
And the way that he does here is so like weird, but like really fitting for some reason. Like
No,
I don't
it makes sense.
like
Yeah.
he totally is like he's even like his name is narrator. Like they don't give him a real name.
Hmm.
You know, he seems to be omniscient. You know, but at the same time, he's interacting with the story at certain points and in real time, and that the way that it plays with that is really interesting, I think. And
I agree.
I love that guy and like his outfit. He's just such a good narrator. Um,
I
and the
agree.
one scene that I love so much of that narrator is when all of them, they've kidnapped Susie and Sam and they're rowing across the river at night. And so it's this I don't know how Wes got this shot. This is the timing on this had to have been
Was this
fucking
before the
unreal.
storm?
This is before the storm. So
Yeah.
he's sitting
I
on the
love
rock.
this scene.
He's sitting on the rock in the dark. He starts, realizes
Yeah, he
that
starts
the light's
talking.
not on. He goes up, turns
Turns it
on the
on.
light,
Yeah.
moves the camera, still one shot the entire time, steps out, does his monologue. Right as he goes up to turn off the camera, in the back corner,
the
you see the
kids.
boats come onto the screen.
Yeah. I
Just
love
some
that.
unreal
That
like
was so
timing
cool.
right there, and just
It was
visually
just
looks
fun.
so cool. Like
Yeah. Well, that's just like that's directing right there. That's just
Exactly.
really good directing.
Why I love this movie so much. Obviously every aspect I just think is perfect. But it really is the way that he integrates his directorial style in this movie. It is the most fluid, I think, out of any of his movies. It feels the most natural, and I think that is mainly one like reason I said earlier, the way it ties back to old film techniques and story techniques with French New Wave and fairy tale, and just the way that those interact with the story just make it all feel so much more cohesive than anything he's done. It's just crazy, dude. This movie blows me away. It's so
super
cool.
cohesive. Yeah.
Just tight movie. I love me some tight movies.
Hell yeah, we like it tight.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other big character arc change that happens in the background. The main ones that through the story are the Captain Sharp, and then I can't remember the other characters' names, but you know, Edward Norton, the camp counselor / his relationship with the receptionist, and then Frances McDormand's character and her relationship with her husband and Captain Sharp, and then social services.
I like her. Yeah, that's her
She's
name.
So funny.
Social service.
She's so funny. I love the there's so many good just like quick line readings in this movie that are so funny. He's like, hold on, social services, when they're like getting turbulence in the plane, he's flying her to the island. I think that's so funny.
It's little things like that are make it like a fucking hilarious. We love that.
Yeah, just so
and
good.
Frances McDormand, like most roles, she's only done a couple with Wes Anderson. But she fucking blends into it.
Mm-hmm. She
so well.
Really disappears into her role here. Unlike any way that she's done. She's done in a lot of roles, but it's like one of her better performances, I think, in this movie. She really does disappear into the role, I think.
Yeah, she's amazing at doing that.
But yeah. I wanted to mention to mention the Bill Murray motif that I saw arc at the end. He's the one who gets the least amount of time to see his arc and how his arc interacts with his wife. But the thing that is like the big thing that like changes that I noticed in the end, that I actually just noticed on this watch, or like noticed the importance of it, I guess, is he has a speakerphone with her at the end, where she's the only one who has the speakerphone the whole movie, and she's like dominating the flow of the house and always calling for people. And then at the end, she calls for everyone for dinner, and then he calls for everyone on his own speakerphone too. And that's such just like a little prop thing right there that you don't even get to see, but you can tell it means so much, because that's that little thing of they're finally starting to work through some of their differences. They're finally starting to act better as a like cohesive unit rather than their own completely separate beings, you know? They're
also still psychopaths for using a fucking horn in their like
that's a fact.
goddamn house.
But the way that it ties into it with Bill Murray's character having it at the end, I thought was just really cute, and something I hadn't ever picked up before on, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
observation.
Um.
I don't have much to.
Yeah. I don't think.
I've said my piece. I love this one.
I,
It's
I think
great.
I think I've said my piece too. Probably. I'm sure I could talk about this for
Oh,
hours. But
actually, I have a question for you, Jacob. Why
okay.
is this your favorite? I'm curious.
It's just so I watched this. I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson. I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love it. I'm starting to really think like, oh, I really love animation and like movies. And how I first started kind of getting into film was animation, and I wanted to be an animator. And then I wanted to make short films and animated short films, and then feature length movies. And so that was kind of like the progression, right? And so I
Hmm.
love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I hear this new movie's coming out, Moonrise Kingdom. I know my dad wants to see it because he's obviously a West fan too. We go to see it, and I just instantly fall in love with this movie purely for the fact, and it's fun, and I love his style. It's a 12-year-old boy who acts and kind of talks like me, um, doing like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. You know, going on just an incredible journey through love. And the way that it was captured is just so like impactful on me. Like it basically instantly was like my favorite movie ever since then. And it's just the more I've rewatched it through the years, even on this a millionth rewatch, and seen the commentary tracks multiple times and shit like that, like I still just pick up on more stuff. It's like such a nuanced movie, that I think is so impressive, and the way that it's changed like my thoughts on it through the more I learn about movies, and the way I've
Hmm.
started to more appreciate all of the adult characters in the movies and what their stories really mean and how important they are to the core story of the movie. Um, just has consistently blown me away throughout the years, and it's something that I just had such a strong connection to purely because the age and time that I saw it, and it's been there for me the whole ride. I rewatch it like every year. It's just
Nice.
it's such a
Right
comfort
on.
movie to me, in just so many
It's
different
definitely a
ways.
comfy movie.
Yeah,
It's one of those like
it's
cozy
also the
movies you
movie
can
I
turn on.
always used on. I used on first dates for the longest time. Whenever I
That's
had a first
actually
date with a girl, I would,
not a bad idea.
usually because it was like, you know, uh, people know me as the movie guy, so it's like, oh, what's your favorite movie? Moonrise Kingdom. Oh, we should just watch that one. Okay, sure. And so it just ended up being my
Yeah.
go-to. But I do love it, obviously, and I think it's amazing, and I love it so much. That's all I got to say on it. We will wrap up our thoughts on Moonrise Kingdom,
Like,
though. It goes without saying, I obviously give this a perfect 5 out of 5. It's a perfect movie. Um, I think it's just so impressive technically in so many ways, and it's just an ever-changing, an ever-loving movie that preaches some of my favorite things that I look for in all movies, a la the importance of love, and care and adventures. So that's my
if
piece.
I had to give this a rating, it's like a 9, not like almost a 10 for me. So close to being a 10. I would have loved to see this movie be a little bit longer and see these characters, a couple of these characters develop more. But this movie's damn near perfect, and yeah, I love it. Fucking love it. So glad we were able to do this podcast, man. This is a
Fuck
lot of
yeah,
fun.
man. I've
Oh,
been
by the way, this not only this is your birthday, this is episode 20.
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
This is episode
this is
20.
awesome.
Oh my god. This is episode
Yeah,
20 of the podcast, dude. Holy shit.
yeah.
We've been doing this for so long. I'm so thankful for everyone
We're
who's been
coming up on a
listening.
year.
Yeah, we're
We
literally
are
coming up
coming
on
up
a
on a
year of
year.
the podcast, which is so crazy.
That's
We're
so
like a
cool.
month and a half away. But I am gonna try. I don't know if you remember, but I did a thing where I was gonna do it every 10 episodes. I was gonna make a YouTube video on like 5 personal movies to me, and just like and so I've made the
Ooh.
intro episode of the podcast as that, and then I made one after our 10th
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
episode, and so I'm gonna try and make one in the coming weeks or so. It'll just be 5 more movies, just me telling stories about my personal connection to them. And so that's really exciting. I honestly think I might start doing that every 5 episodes because it's been so long since the last one, and I've been really wanting to do it again. So check out for that YouTube video whenever that comes out. That probably won't be out for like a week or two, but I am gonna try to make it. But Man, 20 episodes. It's been a fucking
That's
ride.
crazy.
I'm so glad for everyone who listened to the
And it's
episodes.
on. We're on everything now. I've checked. We're on everything.
We're just not on Apple Podcasts. I need to get us on Apple Podcasts,
Yeah,
but
we're not there yet.
it's annoying. iTunes
But
just sucks, but whatever, you know. Um, as is, of course, I love everyone who listens to this podcast, and I really do appreciate it. I know Nick does so much too. And finally, I did have I had someone write in this week or their response to the topic, so I can read it off right now. I got my buddy Nathan Parker to write in, so shout out Nathan. He was back on the Evil Dead episode, which is a really really fun episode. How that turned out. But Nathan is also a big Wes Anderson fan, and I got him to send me his Wes Anderson ranked list, so we're gonna look over that really quickly and just give you our general thoughts on that. Starting at the bottom and going up, 9 up, it goes Isle of Dogs, Rushmore, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Darjeeling Limited, Life Aquatic, Moonrise Kingdom, Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest Hotel, and Bottle Rocket at number 1. That's
I like that.
spicy ass list. I knew he was gonna have Bottle Rocket at 1. We've talked about it before in the past. And I'm so glad to see the Bottle Rocket love. But interesting list, very different than both of ours, which I think is just a testament to how crazy cool Wes Anderson is as a director and how versatile he is, you know. That everyone loves his movies in all different ways. I'm really sad to see the Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs both at the bottom tier, because both of his
I was
animated
disappointed
movies,
too,
come
but the
on.
fact that he put them both there, I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe he just doesn't like the
maybe
stop
he just
motion.
doesn't like stop motion. I don't know. I get
I
it.
know there are people that just don't like it,
Mhm.
and I get it, but like, God, stop motion is not easy to do.
Mhm. I think it's
I
really
appreciate
interesting,
it, even if it's bad.
specifically these top 3, because you have Bottle Rocket, his first movie, then you have Grand Budapest at 2, his by far his most technically advanced movie, and then the Royal Tenenbaums, which is the one that all the old heads love. And so it's definitely a weird mix to see, but I obviously fuck with it, and
I like it. I like it.
I think it's
Like
great.
it a lot.
I like it a lot. So yeah, huge shout outs to Nathan for DMing him his
Appreciate
list.
it.
Hopefully we can get more people to do that in the future again, because it's been too long since we'd have people writing in. But on that note, if you want to write in on the next episode, which will be out in about 2 weeks, as this is a bi-weekly podcast, obviously.
We are back on schedule, guys. We are
back
back
on schedule. We have been. I know our viewership has declined big time.
Back on schedule, kind of.
We've basically been back on schedule, but
after that little hiatus we had, it took like a little adjustment, but I think we're back.
Yeah, we're basically on it though. So yeah, if you want to participate in the next episode,
another standout of the podcast, of course, still is us not figuring out what we're gonna do for the next episode until I'm editing. But we finally figured it out. The new Spiral movie came out. It's the next movie in the Saw franchise. So we're going to be reviewing that. And then we're obviously, for the topic, going to be ranking all of the Saw movies. Nick and I are going to be marathoning them. It's going to be so fun. We're going to be ranking them all. So if you want to participate in that conversation, of course, DM us at In the Closet with JN, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Let us know your rankings or your favorite movies in the fucking entire franchise, and whatever your thoughts are on the new movie Spiral. Thanks so much for listening.
Anyway, though, that's going to be the end of our show, though. Thanks so much for listening. Oh my god, we're here. We did it. 20 episodes down.
Where should they
20 motherfucking episodes
find us?
You know where to find the podcast. You can find the podcast on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, most all other podcasters at In the Closet WJN, In the Closet with me, Jacob Nestor. You can also find me personally, Jacob Nestor 568 on Letterboxd, Instagram, or Twitter. I'm very active on Letterboxd all the time, and I'm starting to be a lot more active on TikTok under the at In the Closet WJN. So follow me there. I'm hopefully gonna start posting more, but TikToks are fucking hard. So whatever. But anyway, that's obviously where you can find me, find the podcast. Nick, where can they find you?
Everywhere, Nick_Sailing. I actually had a couple people follow me on Letterboxd recently. It's cool. Yeah. Shout out to y'all. And yeah, man, like fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Happy birthday to me. I love everybody who's listening to this podcast. And I'll catch you
It's
guys in 2
literally
weeks.
today is literally his birthday. We did celebrate it
It
already,
is
but
the birthday.
I mean, he's gonna celebrate again tonight, hopefully.
Yes, I will be. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'm about to go to the dispensary for the first time once we end this, which is incredibly exciting news, especially because I've been out of weed for like 2
Legalize it,
weeks.
baby.
So, fuck yeah. I can talk about weed and not feel weird on the podcast anymore about it. So, yay. Sorry, Grandma, because I know my grandma's listening.
Grandma, hit me up if you want to smoke down.
Okay, perfect
I
way
got
to end
that
the
big
podcast.
pitch.
Anyway, thanks for listening.